Hi friends, my name is Nandita. I am from Andhra Pradesh.
Good morning dear students. Today we are going to discuss about control and coordination from chapter 7 CBSE class 10. Children, control and coordination are important process for a living organism which is brought about by the nerve system. They are essential for the proper functioning of an organism and the regulation of different functions of different systems. All the living organisms respond and react to changes in the environment around them. The changes in the environment to which the organism respond and react are called stimuli such as light, heat, cold, sound, smell, touch, etc. Both plants and animals respond to stimuli but in a different manner. Children, let us see what is movement in organism. The ability of organisms to move certain body parts is movement. When they move from one place to another place, it is called locomotion. Organisms show movements in response to stimuli. Children, let us discuss the introduction to control and coordination. Organisms move in response to various kinds of stimuli like light, heat, nutrients, food, etc. All these activities in animals are controlled and coordinated by the nerve system and endocrine system. Hormones are chemical messengers which assist the nerve system in carrying out various functions. They are secreted by endocrine glands. Hormones in plants coordinate the movements. Children, system for control and coordination in animals is done with the help of two main systems. One is nerve system, second one is endocrine system. In animals, the nerve system and hormonal system are responsible for control and coordination. Let us see what is control. Control is defined as the power of restraining and regulating by the process can be started, regulated in a place to speed up or slow down or to stop completely. Coordination. Coordination can be defined as the working together of a different systems of an organism in order to produce an appropriate reactions to stimuli. Children, control and coordination regulates all the system of the body to ensure proper coordination and efficient functioning of an organism. They are important for an organism to adapt to the changes and perform important functions like metabolism, homeostasis, etc. It is also helps in responding to stimuli that help in the fight or flight responses. This occurs through the PNS and ANS that compress the nerve system and control the musculoskeletal system for such response. Thus, control and coordination are important process for the survival of an organism. Children, let us discuss in detail about control and coordination in animals. In animals, the nerve system plays a key role in coordinating and controlling movements. The nerve system is made up of nerve cells or neurons which conduct information via electrical impulses. Sensory receptors in sense organs such as taste receptors in the tongue and smell receptors in the nose detect environmental changes. This information triggers a chemical reactions creating electrical impulses that travel through neurons. These impulses are then transmitted to muscles or glands causing action. In lower animals, that is, every phylum of invertebrates except sponges, control and coordinators are achieved with the help of basic form of the nerve system. In sponges, the coordination is dependent on their cilium generating the signals to respond to any stimuli as they lack a nerve system. Whereas in vertebrates, there is a well-developed nerve system and endocrine system that oversees the whole process of control and coordination. Children, the nerve system or the neural system is a complex network of neurons specialized to carry messages. The complexity of the nerve system increases as we move towards higher animals. For instance, cnidarians such as jellyfish have relatively simple nerve nets spread throughout their body. Crabs have more complicated nerve system in the form of two nerve centers called dorsal ganglion and ventral ganglion. As we move further up the ladder, higher organisms such as vertebrates have a well developed brain. Moreover, it is one of the most complicated structure in the animal kingdom, containing billions of neurons all intricately connected. In the human body, the neural system integrates the activity of organs based on the stimuli, which the neurons detected and transmitted. The transmitted message in the form of electrical impulses and convey messages to and from the sense organs. Thus, the nerves coordination involves the participation of the sense organs, nerves, spinal cord, and brain. Children, for survival of an organism's body must respond correctly to various stimuli receives. Children, let us see what are the such important terms. First one is stimuli, an agent or sudden change in the external or internal environment which causes a change in an organism or if its body parts. Response, the change in organisms result for a stimulus. Let us see what is receptors. Nerve cells which indicate waves of impulses towards the central nerve system on receiving a stimulus. Efforts, muscles or glands which contract or secrete substance on receiving an impulse from the brain or spinal cord. Children, let us discuss about receptors. Receptors are the specialized tips of nerve fibers that collect the information to the conducted by the nerves. Receptors are the sense organs of the animals. They are classified as below. Phonoreceptors. These are present in the inner eye. The main function of the phonoreceptors are hearing and balancing of the body. Photoreceptors. These are present in the eye. Function of the photoreceptors are responsible for visual stimulus. Thermoreceptors. They are present in skin and the function of thermoreceptors are responsible for pain, touch and heat stimuli. Olfactory receptors. These are present in nose and the function of olfactory receptors are receive smell. Gustatory receptors. These are present in tongue and function of gustatory receptors are helps in taste detection. Children, here is a flow chart of receptors or sensors. Like phonoreceptors, already we discussed it is present in inner eye. Photoreceptors are present in eye and function is visual stimulus. Thermoreceptors are present in skin and it function is pain, touch and heat. Olfactory receptors are present in nose and it detects the smell. And gustatory receptors are present in tongue and it helps to taste the food. Children, living organisms adapt to their moves and position in response to the environmental changes for their protection or to their advantage. When an entirely reacts to the changes in its surrounding, it is referred to as stimulus, while the reaction to the stimulus is referred to as a response. Common stimuli are sound, light, air, heat, smell, taste, water and gravity. Think of burning your finger or fracturing your bone without any pain sensation. It may be certainly sound like a superpower of an ideal situation. However, when it comes to the standpoint of survival, it can be disastrous. The characteristic behavior of living entities is to respond to stimuli with the intervention of the nerve system. It is an organ system ascribed to send signals from the spinal cord to the brain throughout the body and then back from all the body parts to the brain. The neuron acts as the mediator and it is the basic signaling unit of the nerve system. Pain is the body's way of lifting us, knows that something is not right. It can be prevent further injuries or push us to seek medical attention. Moreover, all of this is possible because humans can respond and react to stimuli due to the control and coordination among the various organs and organ system. Control and coordination in simple multicellular organisms takes place through only the nerve system, which coordinates activities of our body. It is the control system of all our actions, thinking and behavior. Children, let us discuss in detail about nerve system. The nerve system is composed of specialized tissues called nerve tissue. The nerve cells or neurons is the functional unit of nerve system. The nerve system is the major controlling, regulating and communicating system in the body. It is the center of all mental activity including thought, learning and memory. Together with the endocrine system, the nerve system is responsible for regulating and maintaining homeostasis. Through its receptors, the nerve system keeps us in touch with the environment, both external and internal. Neuroscientists study these and other nerve system functions in both health and diseased states. Studying and understanding the nerve system is important because it affects so many areas of human health and well-being. Children, now let us discuss what does the nerve system do. The nerve system plays a role in nearly every aspect of our health and well-being. It guides everyday activities such as waking up, automatic activities such as breathing and complex process such as thinking, reading, remembering and feeling emotions. Children, nerve system consists of brain, spinal network and a huge networks of nerves. Let us see what nerve system controls. The nerve system controls brain growth and development, sensations like touch or hearing, perceptions like the mental process of interpreting sensory informations, thoughts and emotions, learning and memory, movement, balance and coordination, sleep, healing and rehabilitation, stress and body's response to stress, aging, breathing and heartbeat, body temperature, hunger, thirst and digestion, puberty, reproductive health and fertility. Like other systems in the body, the nerve system is composed of organs, principally the brain, spinal cord, nerves and ganglia. This is in turn consists of various tissues including nerve, blood and connective tissue. Together these carry out the complex activities of nerve system. The various activities of the nerve system can be grouped together as three general overlapping functions, that is sensory, integrative, motor. Millions of sensory receptors detect changes called stimuli which occurs inside and outside the body. They monitor such things as temperature, light and sound from the external environment. Inside the body, the internal environment receptors detect variations in pressure, HP, carbon dioxide concentrations and the levels of various electrolytes. All of this gathered information is called sensory input. Children, let us see what is sensory input. Sensory input is converted into electrical signals called nerve impulses that are transmitted to the brain. They are the signals are brought together to create sensations, to produce thoughts or to add to memory. Decisions are made each moment based on the sensory input. This is integration. Based on the sensory input and integration, the nerve system responds by sending signals to muscles, causing them to contract or to gland, causing them to produce secretions. Muscles and glands are called effectors because they are cause and effect in response to directions from the nerve system. This is the motor output or motor function. Children, nerve system of all animals is made up of specialized cells called nerve cells or neurons. These specialized cells are responsible for responding to stimuli and then coordinating the body's action. This is why nerve cells are called the structural and functional unit of nerve system. A neuron is a structural and functional unit of a nerve system, and a neuron consists of the following parts. Children, let us discuss the structure of neuron. Neurons are the structural unit of nerve system. A neuron is normally an elongated and branched cell. It has three parts: cell body or cytone, dendrites and axon. Children, let us discuss about cell body or cytone. The cell body or cytone is somewhat star-shaped with many hair-like structures protruding out of the margin. The cell body is like a normal cell where there is a central nucleus that is surrounded by dense cytoplasm. The nucleus is surrounded by Nissel's granules, which are rough endoplasmic reticulum, which help in protein synthesis. Other than Nissel's granules, it is also consists of other cells like Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, etc. Children, let us discuss about dendrites. These hair-like structures are called dendrites. These are numerous, short, branched cytoplasmic processes that protect out of the cell body. They act as a receiver of impulses and then transmit them to cytosol. Dendrite receives the nerve impulses. Children, now let us discuss about axon. This is the tail of neuron. It ends in several hair-like structures called axon terminals. The axon terminals relay nerve impulses. It is a signal thin long fiber that arises from the cytosol. It has a thin layer of cytoplasm and branched at the end called the axon terminal. It is responsible to transmit impulses from the cell body to the next neuron. Some nerve fibers are connected by myelin sheet made up of facts. However, myelin sheets are not continuous. There are gaps called nodes of Rangiver between each sheet. Some other nerve fibers lack these myelin sheets. Children, let us discuss about what is myelin sheet. Myelin sheet is an insulator cover around the axon. This is called myelin sheet. The myelin sheet insulates the axon against nerve impulses from the surroundings. Children, now let us discuss about different types of neurons. First, sensory neurons. These neurons receive signals from a sense organ. A sense neuron is a nerve cell that detects and transmits sensory information from the body to the brain. Sensory neurons are responsible for our sense of touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. Children, let us see how sensory organs can work. Receive stimuli. Sensory neurons receive stimuli from sense organs such as the skin or internal organs. Transmit signals. Sensory neurons send signals to the central nerve system about the stimuli, then we receive. Trigger response. The brain processes the signals and triggers appropriate to behavioral responses. Children, now let us discuss the types of sensory neuron. One is thermoreceptors, detect heat, and second one is mechanoreceptors, detect pressure, touch and the body, and third one is nociceptors, detect the pain, and photoreceptors detect light, and chemoreceptors detect taste and smell. Children, now let us discuss the disease of sensory neurons. The sensory neuron disease can be genetic, idiopathic, acquired, subaccute, or chronic. SND means sensory neuron disease can be associated with vitamin deficiency or intoxication, neurotoxic drugs, system immune mediated disease, and life threatening disease like cancers. Children, now let us discuss the another type of neuron, that is motor neuron. These neurons send signals to a muscle or a gland. Motor neurons are nerve cells that transmit signals from the brain and spinal cord to muscles, glands, and organs. They are responsible for controlling voluntary and involuntary muscle movements. Children, now let us see what are the types of motor neurons. Upper motor neurons originate in the cerebral cortex and travel to the spinal cord or brainstem. Next one is lower motor neurons originate in the spinal cord and travels to muscles and glands. Children, now let us see how motor neurons work. The brain sends a message to a muscle to move, and the message travels through the motor neurons. The motor neurons bind to receptors on the muscle. Sodium ions flow into the muscles causing depolarization. Calcium ions are released causing the muscle to contact. Children, now let us discuss the disease of motor neuron. The motor neuron disease (MND) is a condition that occurs when motor neurons gradually stop working. Symptoms are including for motor neuron diseases as follows, like muscle weakness, muscle cramps, and twists, rigid speech, difficulty swallowing, weight loss, clumsiness, shortness of breath, inappropriate to emotional response. There is no cure for MND, but treatments can be helped to reduce its impacts on a person's life. Children, let us discuss another type of neuron, that is association or relay neuron. These neurons relay the signals between sensory neurons and motor neuron. Association neurons are known as interneurons, are nerve cells that connect sensory and motor neurons. They are the most common type of neuron in the body and are found in the brain and spinal cord. Children, let us discuss the functions of association neuron. The function of association neuron is integrate information, and the association neuron receives signals from the sensory neurons and relay them to motor neurons. Children, let's see what regulate motor activity. This association neurons helps control how motor neurons respond to sensory information, and let us see the enable of reflexes. The association neurons are involved in reflexes which are involuntary response to stimuli. The association neurons release neurotransmitters that inhibit other neurons from firing. Children, let us discuss the types of association neurons. First one is local interneurons. These local interneurons are connected to neighboring nerves to relay small amounts of information. Second one is relay interneurons. These relay interneurons have a long axons that allow them to connect to neurons across larger areas of the body and the brain. And the other names of association neurons are connector neurons, internucleal neurons, and intermediate neurons. Children, let us discuss about synapse. The point contact between the terminal branches of axon of one neuron with the dendrite of another neuron is called synapse. The synapse is a small gap between two adjacent neurons. It is the functional junction or point of contact between the axon of a neuron and the dendrites of a neuron, or between the neuron and other cells. In between the axon and dendrite or axon and other cell, there is a fine gap called the synaptic cleft. The synaptic cleft helps in the transfer of information in the form of neurotransmitters like acetylcholine. The electrical impulses travel to the end of the axon terminal and stimulates the release of neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft that then reaches the receptor region of the other neuron or cell. Children, let us see what is neuromuscular junction. NMJ. NMJ means neuromuscular junction is a point where a muscle fiber comes in contact with a motor neuron carrying nerve impulses from the control nerve system. Children, let us see the transmission of nerve impulses. The nerve impulses transfer in the following manner from one neuron to the next. The nerve impulses first they transfer from dendrites to cell body to axon to nerve ending at the tip of axon, and then synapse to dendrite of next neuron. The chemical released from axon tip of one neuron across the synapse or neuromuscular junction to reach the next cell. Children, now let us discuss the reflex action. A reflex action is a quick involuntary action is response to an external or internal stimulus, generally without involvement of the brain. Example, a tap on the knee results in the spontaneous withdrawal, that is knee jerk. Similarly, when we touch a hot object, we spontaneously withdraw our hand. Children, let us discuss about reflex arc. The pathway taken by nerve impulses in a reflex action is called reflex arc. The flow chart looks like this. From spinal cord to sensory nerves and motor nerves. From there, sensory nerves goes into receptor organ like skin. Example, stimulus like heat. And when it comes to motor nerves, it goes to effector nerve like muscles. Response, example, withdrawal of our hand. Children, let us see what is voluntary means. It means under the control of a person. Example is writing. Involuntary means it is not under the control of a person. Example of heartbeat. Children, now let us discuss the mechanism of reflex action. A reflex mechanism involves a receptor organ, an effector organ, and some type of communication network. When a sensory receptor is stimulated, signals pass from it along a sensory neuron to the spinal cord. The message travels out of the spinal cord along a motor neuron to the effector neuron, which shows the response, such as a pathway is called a reflex arch. In most cases, however, the basic physiological mechanism behind a reflex is more complicated than a reflex arch theory would suggest. An additional nerve cells capable of communicating with other parts of the body beyond the receptors and effectors are present in the reflex circuits. Children, now let us discuss the skeletal structure of nerve system. The human nerve system mainly divided into three parts, that is central nerve system, peripheral nerve system and automatic nerve system. Then comes to the central nerve system. Again, the parts are involved in brain and spinal cord. Again, the main parts of the brain comes under forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Then forebrain comes under divided into two parts, that is cerebrum and olfactory lobes, and hindbrain again divided into three parts, cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. Then again cerebrum divided into frontal lobe, temporal lobe, partial lobe and occipital lobe. Then come to peripheral nerve system, which is also called PNS. This PNS divided into cranial nerves 12 pairs and spinal nerves 13 pairs. Then comes to automatic nerve system, ANS. This ANS nerve system again divided into two parts. One is sympathetic nerve system, second one is parasympathetic nerve system. Children, let us discuss the parts of human nerve system. First one is central nerve system. The central nerve system is composed of the brain and the spinal cord. The brain controls all the functions in the human body. The spinal cord works as the relay channels for signals between the brain and the peripheral nerve system. Children, let us discuss about human brain. On average, an adult brain weighs between 1 kg to 1.5 kg. It is mainly composed of neurons, the fundamental unit of the brain and nerve system. Recent estimates have suggested that the brain contains anywhere between 86 billion to 100 billion of neurons. The brain, along with the spinal cord, constitutes the central nerve system. It is responsible for thoughts, interpretation and body movements. Children, let us see where is brain located. The brain is located within the skull, which provides the frontal, lateral and dorsal protection. The skull consists of 22 bones, 14 of which from the facial bones and the remaining 8 from the cranial bones. Automatically, the brain is contained within the cranium and it is surrounded by the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, is a fluid that circulates within the skull and spinal cord, filling up hollow spaces on the space of the brain. Every day, the specialized ependymal cells produced around 500 ml of cerebrospinal fluid. The primary function of cerebrospinal fluid is to act as the buffer brain, cushioning mechanical shocks and dumping minor jolts. It also provides basic immunological protection to the brain. Furthermore, CSF provides buoyancy of the brain, that is, the brain is suspended in any layer of CFC wherein the weight of the brain is nearly negated. If the brain is not suspended in CFC, it would be impeded by its weight, consequently cutting off the blood supply in the lower half of the brain. It would lead to the death of neurons in the affected area. Children, now let us discuss the parts of human brain. Following are the major parts of the human brain. The brain can be divided into three basic parts: the forebrain, the midbrain and the hindbrain. The human brain has many parts including the cerebellum, cerebrum, brainstem, frontal lobes, parietal lobes, temporal lobes and occipital lobes. Children, now let us discuss about forebrain. the largest part of the brain. The forebrain is the largest part of the brain, most of which is the cerebrum. Other important forebrain structure including the thalamus, the hypothalamus and the limbic system. It is the anterior part of the brain. It is composed of cerebrum. The brain is the center of the body. The main divisions of the brain including the forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. The forebrain is further divided into subdivisions. They are telencephalon and diencephalon. The diencephalon includes the thalamus, hypothalamus and pineal body. The major parts of the forebrain are cerebrum, hypothalamus and thalamus. Children, let us discuss the function of forebrain. The forebrain controls the reproductive functions, body temperatures, emotions, hunger and sleep. Children, let us discuss the parts and functions of forebrain. First one is cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part in the human brains. It is divided into two hemispheres called cerebral hemispheres. It sits mainly in the anterior and middle cranial fossa of the skull. Our cerebrum is the largest part of your brain and handles a wide range of responsibilities. Children, the average adult human brain weighs between 1300 grams to 1400 grams or about 3 pounds. The weight of a brain can vary depending on age, sex, race, environment and socio-economic conditions. Let us see the weight of brain in sex. When it comes to the men, the average brain weight of an adult male is about 1336 grams. When it comes to female, the average brain weight of an adult female is about 1998 grams. Children, let us discuss the brain weight of age. When the newborn babies have, the average brain weight of a newborn baby is about 350 to 400 grams, and when they come to age of 20, the brain weight of a male is about 1400 grams. Then it comes to 65, the brain weight of a male is about 1300 grams, and the brain weight of any body height, the brain weight increases about 3 to 7 grams for each centimeter of the body height. The brain weight and the intelligence. Children, some says that larger brains are associated with higher intelligence, but this relationship is not always clear. Children, the surface of the cerebrum is formed by an outer grey matter layer which is thrown into a convoluted pattern of ridges and furrows called gray and sulci respectively. Deep to cerebral cortex is an inner mass of white matter which forms a bulk of cerebrum and contain myelinated nerve fibers that convey informations or from the cerebral cortex. Children, now let us discuss in detail about what is cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex is a thin layer of a brain tissue on the surface of your cerebrum. The word cortex comes from the Latin word of bark as an outer layer of a tree trunk. The cerebral cortex is necessary for memory storage, attention, awareness, thought, language, and consequences. The brain consists of two types of tissues. Already we discussed that. First one is grey matter and white matter. The outer layer of cerebrum are made from grey matter. The grey matter is formed by neurons and their unmyelinated fibers. The white matter below the grey matter of the cortex is formed predominantly by myelinated axons. The surface of every hemisphere is formed from grey matter, referred to as the cerebral mantle, and is folded to extend the area available within the skull. The cortex has roles within perception, memory, and every one higher thought process. Inside the cortex is that the substantia alba, within which are a variety of nuclei referred to as basal nuclei. The basal nuclei receive information from the cortex to manage skeletal movement and other higher motor functions. The grey matter mainly consists of various types of cells which make up a bulk of brain. White matter is primarily composed of axons which connect various grey matter areas of the brain with each other. The exterior portion of the cerebrum is called cortex or cerebral mantle. The surface of the cerebral mantle is folded in mammals. More than 2/3 of the surface is within grooves or sulci. Already we discussed that. The cerebral cortex is connected to the structures such as thalamus and the basal ganglion, sending information to them along with different connections and receiving information from them via afferent connections. Most sensory information is routed to the cerebral mantle via the thalamus, and the cortex is commonly described as comprising three parts, that is sensory, motor and association areas. Already we discussed that. The cortex is extremely convoluted, due to which it has a large surface area. The cerebrum also includes the sensory areas to receive the messages, and we discussed that association areas, these are integrated the incoming sensory information. It also forms connection between sensory and motor areas. The motor areas is also responsible for action of the voluntary muscles. Children, the cerebrum divided into cerebral hemisphere connected by a mass of white matter is known as corpus callosum. Each hemisphere is split into four lobes, that is frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe and temporal lobe. Children, let us discuss in detail about the four lobes. First one is frontal lobe. Frontal lobe at the front of your head. This lobe handles things like attention, behavior control, sense what's appropriate to and what's not, the ability to speak and certain types of muscle movement. It is associated with parts of speech, planning, reasoning, problem solving and movements. Children, let us discuss about parietal lobe. Parietal lobe is situated at the top of your head. This area handles touch, temperature and pain signals. It also helps with how you see the world around you, especially judging distance from and the size of objects. It also plays a role in processing sounds, language you speak, your ability to use numbers and count, and how you organize information and make decisions helps in movements, the perception of stimuli and orientation. Children, now let us discuss about occipital lobe. The occipital lobe situated at the side of your head. This area helps you understand language when other people are speaking. It also helps you recognize people and objects. This part also helps you connect emotions with memories. It is related to visual processing. Next, insular. Deep inside of your brain, it is present underneath your frontal, parietal and temporal lobes. This part of your brain handles taste sense. It may also help process certain types of emotions like compassion and empathy. Children, now let us discuss about temporal lobe. It is situated at the back of your head. This lobe manages much of your eye sensory input, including the ability to see movement and colors. This region is related to perception and recognition of memory, auditory stimuli and speech. A few structures that are the part of your cerebrum stand out because they have very specific purpose. Children, now let us discuss the functions of cerebrum. The cerebrum responsible for thinking, intelligence, consciousness and memory. It is also responsible for interpreting touch, hearing and vision. Your cerebrum handles much of your brain conscious actions. That means it is responsible for elements that require thinking, including your five sense organs. Your cerebrum manages and processes everything your senses take in. That includes sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. Language. Various parts of your cerebrum controls your ability to read, write and speak. Working memory of cerebrum. This is a type of short-term memory. An example of working memory is when you remind yourself to pick up something from the grocery store. Behavior and personality. The part of your cerebrum is your frontal lobe, which manages your personality and behavior. It's the part of your brain that acts as a filter to stop you from doing or saying things you may later regret. Movement. Certain areas of your cerebrum send signals that tell your muscles what to do when you need to use them. Learning. learning, logic, and reasoning of cerebrum. Different areas of your cerebrum work together when you need to learn a new skill, make a plan of an action, or a puzzle out of a problem. Children, let us discuss how cerebrum help with other organs. Your cerebrum works together with other parts of your brain, especially your cerebellum, to help you with your daily activities. An example of this is picking up a pencil off a table. Your cerebrum sends the signals to the muscles in your arms, and your cerebellum helps calculate and controls your movements so your hand goes right to the pencil without missing. Your cerebellum not only managing consequence thoughts but also planning and action. That includes when you decide to be physically active, choose what you want to eat for a meal, or to set aside time to see in a healthcare provided for any reason. Because of this, your cerebrum plays a critical role in the health and well-being of your entire body. Children, let us discuss some interesting facts of your cerebrum. First one is cross presented. When you do something with one side of your body, the other side of your brain is usually behind that process. An example of this is having a stroke on the left side of your brain and feeling it effects on the right side of your body. Your brain is very adaptable. Your brain can rewire itself. This ability can happen as you learn new skills or help your recovery from injuries to your brain. Your brain has a specialized areas. Different parts of your brains are responsible for different abilities and skills. However, that's also fed into the disproven myth that comes people are left brain and right brain. Children, now let us discuss about disorders of cerebrum. The cerebrum disorders are conditions that affect the cerebrum, which is the part of the brain. These disorders can be caused by numerous factors, including genetics, trauma, infections, lifestyle choices. Children, now let us discuss the types of disorders in cerebrum. Alzheimer's disease, a disease that affects the brain. Anxiety disorders, a mental health condition that affects the brain. Next one is attention defect hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, a neuropsychiatric disorder that affects the brain. Stroke, a cerebrovascular disease that affects the brain. The next one is contusion and traumatic brain injuries, the brain injuries that can be affected the brain. Epilepsy, a condition that affects the brain. Next one is dementia. Dementia is a disorder that affects the brain. And depression, a mental health condition, also affects the brain. Then cerebral palsy, a disorder that the brain abilities to control movements. And the brain tumors, a type of brain disease that affect the brain. And hydrocephalus, a condition that affects the brain. Then multiple sclerosis, a condition that affects the brain. These are the examples of cerebrum disorders. Children, now let us discuss about thalamus. The thalamus functions to relay sensory information to the cerebral mantle, and therefore the hypothalamus regulating visceral function including temperature, reproductive functions, eating, sleeping, and therefore the display of emotion. The visceral brain describes a set of structures within the forebrain including the amygdala, hippocampus, also referred as to emotional brain. It is important within the information of memories and in making decisions and learning. Children, let us discuss about hypothalamus. This is a part of your brain whose names under the thalamus manages functions in your nerve system and endocrine system, both which help with controlling of other systems and process throughout your body. An example of this is how your hypothalamus helps messages your body temperature, heart rate, and blood pressure. The hypothalamus is closely associated with the pituitary, controlling an outer-sized proportions of the activity getting to it. The hypothalamus lies at the base of cerebrum. It controls sleep and wake cycle of your body. It also controls the urges of eating, drinking, etc. The hypothalamus is a small organ located in the brain that controls secretions from the pituitary gland, which sends hormones to different organs. Children, let us discuss in detail about structure of hypothalamus. The hypothalamus as a somewhat complex structure and comprises three regions. Each of these is made up of different kind of nuclei. These nuclei are groups of nerve cells or neurons that carry out many important functions such as secreting hormones. Children, let us discuss the parts of hypothalamus. First one is anterior region, second one is middle region, third one is posterior region. Children, first let us discuss about the first part of hypothalamus, anterior region. The anterior region is also known as supraoptic region. The supraoptic part is made up of supraoptic and paraventricular nuclei. These nuclei mostly secrete hormones that interact with the pituitary gland to form more hormones. The anterior region secretes some essential hypothalamus hormones. Aspirin. The aspirin is also known as antidiuretic hormone or ADH. It modulates the level of water in the body. Oxytocin. The hormone oxytocin regulates several emotional responses and behavioral such as recognition, sexual arousal, excitement and trust. It also controls some part of your reproductive system such as lactation and childbirth. Thyrotropin releasing hormone TRH. This TRH signals the pituitary to secrete the thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. Corticotropin releasing hormone. This CRH stimulates the pituitary to secrete the adrenocorticotropic hormone or ACTH. The ACTH signals that secretion of stress hormone which is known as cortisol. Somatostatin. This somatostatin stops the pituitary gland from secreting some specific hormones. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. GnRH causes the pituitary to secrete reproductive hormones like FSH and LH. The anterior region also helps maintaining the body circadian rhythms and the body temperatures. Children, let us discuss about middle region. Middle region, also known as tuberal region. This middle region of hypothalamus is mostly made up of ventromedial and auriculate nuclei. The ventromedial nucleus helps to regulate appetite and accurate plays a role in secreting GHRH or the growth hormone releasing hormone. It is responsible for proper growth and development of the body. Children, now let us discuss about posterior region. Posterior region is known as the mammillary region. The posterior region consists of the posterior hypothalamus nucleus and the mammillary nucleus. It helps control the stabilized body temperature and it is also believed to play a role in memory and cognition. Children, now let us discuss about the functions of hypothalamus. The hypothalamus connects to various parts of the central nervous system. It is connected to the brainstem, the part of the brain that carries information from the peripheral nervous system and spinal cord to the upper part of the brain. The brainstem contains parts of midbrain and hindbrain. The hypothalamus is also connected to the peripheral nervous system. With these connections, the hypothalamus can affect many autonomic or involuntary functions. Besides the hypothalamus hormones, the hypothalamus also features osmotic sensors that react to concentrations of chloride, carbon dioxide, potassium and sodium. This osmotic sensor signals the kidneys to store or release water depending on their respective levels they play. The role of hypothalamus is an essential one and includes these following activities: maintaining sleep cycles, connects the nerves and endocrine system, balance body fluids, regulates body pressure and heart rate, autonomic functions control, maintain homeostasis such as regulating body temperature, appetite and body weight, heart rate and blood pressure, etc. Motor functions check, eating and drinking, emotion controls. These are the few activities which are done by hypothalamus. Children, now let us discuss the conditions and disorders of hypothalamus. When your hypothalamus is damaged, it doesn't function as it should. Another term for when there is a problem with your hypothalamus is hypothalamic dysfunction. Children, let us discuss the causes of hypothalamic dysfunctions include head injuries such as traumatic brain injury, brain infection, brain tumor in or around the hypothalamus, or brain aneurysms, and significant weight loss caused by eating disorders such as bulimia or anorexia, brain surgery and radiation therapy and chemotherapy, birth defects involving the brain or hypothalamus, inflammatory diseases including multiple sclerosis and neurosarcoidosis, and some genetic disorders such as growth hormone deficiency, thalamus pituitary disorders. Because of close interactions between your hypothalamus and pituitary gland, conditions that affect either are called hypothalamic pituitary disorders. Certain hormone tests can be determined that exact hormone involved to make a more significant diagnosis. For example, hypopituitarism. This condition can be caused by the damage to your pituitary gland or to your hypothalamus, which directly affects the pituitary gland. Diabetics insipidus. This condition happens when your brain hypothalamus does not produce and release enough vasopressin. This causes your kidneys to lose too much water and results in excessive peeing and thirst. Third one is Prader-Willi syndrome. This inherited disorder causes your hypothalamus not to recognize the sensation that you are full when you are eating. Without this sensation, you have a constant urge to eat and are at a risk of obesity. Kallmann syndrome. This syndrome has a genetic link of hypothalamic disease causing such as hypothalamic problems in children has delayed or no puberty. Acromegaly and pituitary gigantism. These are rare disorders of growth due to excessive release of growth hormone from your pituitary gland. Syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone. This occurs when the antidiuretic hormone level is too high. Causes including stroke, hemorrhage, infection, trauma, cancer, and certain medications. Central hypothyroidism. Central hypothyroidism is a rare disorder that occurs due to both hypothalamic and pituitary disorders. This most common cause is pituitary tumor such as pituitary adenoma. Next one is functional hypothalamic amenorrhea. This condition is the absence of period for more than 3 months in people assigned female at birth who previously had regular periods, or more than 6 months in a people AFAB who have irregular menstruation. The most common cause of this condition is hypothalamic dysfunctioning. Next one is hyperprolactinemia, a disease in diploma levels cause an increase in prolactin levels, causes including a tumor, damage to nerve cells in hypothalamus and other causes. Children, now let us discuss about brainstem. Your brainstem connects your brain to spinal cord. It sits at the bottom of your brain and includes the midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. Your brainstem sends messages to the rest of your body to regulate balance, breathing, heart rate and more. The brainstem is a central processing organ of your body. It commands and controls all functions of the body. This is because all systems in your body follow the commands given them by the brain. The commands are delivered through the nerves. The brainstem is composed of the midbrain, hindbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. Together, all these structures execute different functions such as regulating breathing, heart rate, blood pressure and other functions. This forms the brainstem, and this is the basic brainstem definition. Children, now let us discuss about midbrain. Midbrain, it is composed of hypothalamus. Midbrain is smallest and central part of the brain. Midbrain is located between the thalamus of the forebrain and pons of the hindbrain. Hindbrain comprises pons, cerebellum and medulla. The midbrain consists of tectum and tegmentum. Children, now let us discuss about tectum. The tectum is a small portion of the brain, specifically the dorsal part of the midbrain. It serves as a relay center for the sensory information from the ears to cerebrum. It also controls the reflex movements of the head, eyes, and neck muscles. It provides a passage for the different neurons moving in and out of the cerebrum. Children, now let us discuss about tegmentum. Tegmentum is a region within the brainstem. It is a complex structure with various components which is mainly involved in body movements, sleep, arousal, attention, and different necessary reflexes. It forms the platform for the midbrain and connects with the thalamus, cerebral cortex, and the spinal cortex. Children, now let us discuss about hindbrain. The brainstem is made up of hindbrain. This is the posterior most part of the brain. That is why it is called the hindbrain. The hindbrain comprises the pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. Children, now let us discuss about cerebellum. The cerebellum is the part of the brain of all vertebrates. This brain is the center holding all necessary connections to all the sensory functions the body responds to. It is rightly called the little brain as it is located in the hindbrain below the cerebrum. The average weight of an adult human cerebellum is between 4.8 and 6 ounce, means 136 to 169 grams. The cerebellum is the part of the brain that controls balance and voluntary movements. The cerebrum is the part of the brain which is relatively larger than the cerebellum. The cerebellum medulla oblongata is located in elegant connections to the spinal cord and hence controlling movements. The brain can be considered to be a soft mass of connective tissue which also has nerves connected to the spinal cord that holds and supports the body. The brain controls mainly bodily functions like talking, walking, feeling, seeing, hearing, ability to think, and even controls your breathing as its neural connections are towards other parts of the head as well, like eyes, nose, ears, etc. It is because our brain facilitates the neuron connections we can say sane and hold ourselves up, retain information, and build relationships. The cerebellum comes from the Latin word little brain, is a region of brain that plays an important role in motor control. The structure is located at the back of the brain, underlying the occipital and temporal lobes of the cerebral cortex. The cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain, located in the posterior portion of the medulla oblongata and pons. The cerebellum and cerebrum are separated by cerebellar tentorium and transverse fissure. Cortex is the outer surface of the cerebellum and it is parallelly ridges are called the folia. Apart from this, the cerebellum has the cerebellar peduncles, cerebellar nuclei, anterior and posterior lobes. The cerebellum consists of two hemispheres, the outer grey cortex and the inner white medulla. It is mainly responsible for coordinating and maintaining the body balance during walking, running, riding, swimming, and precision control of the voluntary movements. The main functions of the cerebellum includes it sends equilibrium, transfers information, coordinates eye movements, it enables precision control of the voluntary body movements, predicts the future position of the body during particular movement. Both anterior and posterior lobes are connected with the skeletal movements. The cerebellum is also an essential for making fine adjustments to motor actions. Mainly it coordinates and maintains body balance and posture during walking, running, riding, etc. Children will discuss exactly what cerebellum do. Cerebellum, how it works on motor control. The cerebellum controls muscle tone, balance and equilibrium. It also helps with motor learning and comes under cognitive functions. The cerebellum cognitive functions. The cerebellum may also play a role in language processing and memory, pain. And next come to the cerebellum work in pain processing. The cerebellum receives pain input and transfers some of this information to the motor system. This helps the body avoid the pain. Children, now let us discuss what happens when cerebellum is damaged. Damage to cerebellum can make it difficult to stand, walk, and keep balance. It can also make it harder to learn new words or skills. It may affect a person's sense of timing or their ability to judge distance. Children, now let us discuss about cerebellar disorders. Cerebellar disorders are conditions that affect the cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls balance, coordination, and motor skills. Symptoms including ataxia, which is a loss of coordination and balance, and tremors. Children, now let us discuss the types of cerebellar disorders. First is ataxia. Ataxia, a loss of coordination and balance that can affect the limbs, posture, and gait. Second, hypotonia. The hypotonia is a reduction in muscle tone that can cause abnormal body positions. Third one is tremors. Rhythmic oscillations of a limb or the trunk can increase as you approach a target. Nystagmus. Nystagmus is a disorder involuntary rapid eye movement that can be horizontal, vertical, rotatory. Next one is scanning speech. Scanning speech, slow speech with a tendency to hesitate at the beginning of words or syllables. Next one is gait abnormalities. Abnormalities standing or walking such as swaying, staggering or reeling, etc. Children, now let us discuss the causes of these disorders. Causes of cerebellar disorders are infections such as bacterial, viral, parasitic or post-viral. Treatment for cerebellar disorders are medication, rehabilitations, surgical excision for tumors, immunotherapy and gluten-free diet. Children, now let us discuss about medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata, also known as medulla, is the lower part of the brainstem. The brain majorly can be classified into forebrain, midbrain and hindbrain. Already we discussed that this is the lower part of the brain, hindbrain. Further can be distinguished into cerebellum. Medulla oblongata and pons varolii. The word medulla oblongata has origin from the Latin word vers medis, means corresponds to middle, and oblongata corresponds to long. Hence the medulla is a long stem-like structure, piriform, conic resembling. Medulla is found in the lowest region of the brain, chiefly regulating the atomic functions such as breathing, heartbeat, and digestion. It is critically important as it connects the spinal cord, pons, and the cerebral cortex. Additionally, it assists to maintain body posture and governs our reflexes. Its view of importance in controlling head and facial musculature, the medulla oblongata is regulated as the spinal cord of the head. Children, now let us discuss the parts of medulla oblongata. The medulla is found between the spinal cord and pons. Its vertical and dorsal surfaces of the medulla are distinguished by distinct fissures and turbinates constituted by different nuclei and related tracts. The medulla is divided into two major parts: ventral medulla, the front portion, and dorsal medulla, rear portion, anterior portion, and it is also known as the tegmentum. Children, now let us discuss what is median fissures. Along the posterior and anterior proportions of the medulla, hollow grooves are found. These are the median fissures. Pyramids. The upper part of the medulla ventrally is deeply grooved into the midline along with a bold complexity on either side. These are pyramids. It is the result of containing corticospinal fibers. Some of these fibers overlap each other, hence obliterating the anterior median fissure, which is known as the dissection of the pyramids. The external accurate fibers originate from the anterior middle fissures above the dissection of the pyramids. Running lateral across the surface of the pons, they are two round masses of white matter situated on the facing sides of the anterior median fissure. olivary bodies. In the upper part of the medulla, the area between the posterior-lateral and anterior-lateral sulcus is distinguished by a swelling, a pair of oval structures known as olivary bodies or olivos. It contains nerve fibers linking between cerebellum and pons with the medulla. The swelling is as a result of a large mass of gray matter, that inferior olivary nucleus. Fasciculus gracilis. The rear end of medulla between the posterior lateral sulcus and posterior median compressors tracts entering from the posterior funiculus of the spinal cord. These structures are fasciculus gracilis, situated intermediate to the midline and lateral to the fasciculus unguentatus. These structures typically are the continuation of the bundle of nerve fibers tracts extending from the spinal cord to the medulla. The terminal end of the fasciculi possess a round elevations referred to as the gracile and cuneate tuberculus. These are the result of nucleus unguentatus and nucleus gracilis overlying the tubercles. A triangular fossa occupies the posterior axis of the medulla, forming the floor of the fourth ventricle. This fossa on the either side is enclosed by the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Right laterally immediate of this fasciculus unguentatus is the tuberculum cinereum, which is at another longitudinal elevation caused as the result of spinal nucleus to the trigeminal nerve. Children, now let us discuss the structure of medulla oblongata. The medulla is a neuronal mass that's parts of the brainstem. It is located below the cerebellum and anterior to it. The medulla blends with the spinal cord near the foramen magnum. The medulla oblongata develops from the myelencephalon, and it is the most caudal brainstem structure situated in the posterior most part of the brainstem, merging within the spinal cord. Dimension: the medulla is 3 cm long and 2 cm wide with a thickness of 1.25 centimeters. It is home to all descending and ascending tracts carrying signals between the spinal cord and the brainstem. Its broad portion unite the overlying bones, hence the narrow sections continues with the spinal cord. The intersections between the spinal cord and the medulla occurs within the upper border of the first cervical vertebrae, which is also called atlas. In addition to this, other sections of the hindbrain, the medulla space out in the infratentorial space. Children, now let us discuss the functions of medulla oblongata. The medulla is critical in performing some important body functions pertaining to the regulation of mental, motor and sensory process. This is responsible to regulate the automatic functions of the body while it connects the higher levels of the brain to that of the spinal cord. Children, let us see what does the medulla oblongata do. Your medulla oblongata, often just called the medulla, is a key part of your nerve system. It's key not only because of its location but also because of its controls. Some of its jobs include managing heart, circulation and breathing. Your medulla is where your cardiovascular and respiratory systems link together into a united system that controls your heart rate, breathing, blood pressure and more. Manages other automatic process also. These are the things that your body often does, you having to think about them. Some examples including coughing, sneezing, swallowing, vomiting and maintaining your balance. Then nerve connections to the medulla oblongata. The vast majority of major nerves converge at your spine, carrying signals to and from your brain. That means those signals must pass through your medulla. 4 of your 12 cranial nerves, which connects the area of your throats and tongue directly to your brain, passes through your medulla. Crossover point. Your medulla is the location of a region called the pyramids, where most of the movement related nerves in your body crisscross. This crossover is why one side of your brain almost always controls parts on the opposite side of your body. Children, now let us discuss the medulla and the cranial nerves. Your cranial nerves, which comes in a pair and use Roman numerals to set them, that pass through the medulla include the following: cranial nerve CN, 9. Your ninth cranial nerve handles many of the functions of your mouth, this including activating the glands that make saliva, spit, and your ability to taste and feeling things inside of your mouth. It is also controls your gag reflex, which keeps you from accidentally cocking on objects. Cranial nerve 10. Your 10th cranial nerve, known as vagus nerve, is one of the most important nerve in your body. It connects to all the major organs from your neck to the top part of your colon, transmitting signals for your automatic nerve system. These are signals you don't think about, and they may manage your heart rate, interstitial movements, and more. These nerves also carry signals from your muscles of your larynx, voice box, and the muscles you use to swallow. Cranial nerve 11th. Your 11th cranial nerve controls muscles on your neck and upper back. These muscles help you turn your head or shrug your shoulders. Cranial nerves 12. Your 12th cranial nerves control the muscles that you use to stick out of your tongue, that makes this nerve vital for your ability to speak and swallow. Children, now let us discuss the disorders that affect medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata includes strokes, brain tumors, and traumatic brain injuries. Other disorders like Parkinson's disorder, Alexander disorder, and Wallenberg syndrome. Causes are stroke, means when blood supply to the medulla oblongata is cut off, and brain aneurysms, means it is a disorder caused by a plug in a blood vessel of the brain, and brain tumor, it can damage a vital part of your brain, and traumatic brain injuries that can cause brain bleedings and seizures, and physical trauma can cause injury to the medulla oblongata. Genetic mutations, in some cases like Alexander diseases, genetic mutations cause these disorders. Symptoms of these disorders are headache, hoarseness, inability to feel temperature or pain, jerky and uncontrolled eye movements, nausea and vomiting, paralysis, trouble swallowing, vision problems, etc. Children, let us discuss the other disorders of medulla oblongata. Dejerine syndrome. Dejerine syndrome, also known as medullary syndrome. This condition can cause weakness in arms and legs on the opposite side of your brain damage. Next one is bilateral medial medullary syndrome. This condition can cause respiratory failure and paralysis of all four limbs. Next one is Rinhold syndrome. Rinhold syndrome, also known as hemimedullary syndrome. This condition can cause paralysis. Alexander diseases, a rare neurodegenerative disorder that causes white matter degeneration and the information of Rosenthal fibers. Children, now let us discuss the treatment for these disorders. Treatment for these disorders of medulla oblongata including surgery, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, and other medications. The treatment plan depends on the type of location of the tumor, the patient's age, and the other factors. Children, now let us discuss about pons. The pons is superior to the medulla oblongata and inferior to the midbrain, so it lies above the medulla and below the midbrain. When a sectional part of the pons is dissected, it can be seen that the pons lies anterior to the cerebellum, that is in front of it, and behind or posterior to the pituitary gland. The broad anterior bulge in the medulla is pons and measures about the length of 2.5 centimeters in adults, and it appears as a bridge that also connects two hemispheres in the brain. Pons variouli is a part of the brainstem found just over the medulla oblongata and below the cerebellum. Horseshoe-shaped mass of nerve fibers is a critical part of the hindbrain. In Latin, pons means bridge, which also corresponds to the function it carries out link both the hemispheres of cerebrum. Additionally, it is also links the cerebral cortex to the medulla oblongata through the cerebral peduncles. It is from this structure, the bones, that 4 cranial nerves originated or terminated, which are crucial for transferring sensory and motor information both ways to brain and the facial regions. Bones hence provide a pathway for the nerve fibers to connect the cerebellum and the cerebral cortex. It relays impulses between the lower cerebellum and spinal cord and higher parts of the brain like cerebrum and midbrain, and also regulates respiration. The bone is a part of the brainstem that connects the brain to the spinal cord and cerebellum. It is the key structure that relays signals between the brain and the other parts of the body. Children, now let us discuss what the bones do. Connects the brain to the spinal cord, already we discussed that, and the bone is a bridge between the brain and the spinal cord, and it relays the signals, means the bones relay signals between the brain and cerebellum and spinal cord, and controls the breathing. The bones controls the frequency and magnitude of breathing, controls sleep cycles. Bones helps regulate sleep cycles, control senses. The bones is involved in sense like hearing, taste and balance, controls movement. The bones helps control movements of the face, mouth, etc., regulate alertness. The bones is a part of network of neurons that regulate alertness. Children, now let us discuss where is the bones located. Children, already we discussed that the bone is located in the brainstem, just above the medulla oblongata and below the midbrain. The bone is a horseshoe shaped mass of nerve fibers. Children, let us discuss the structure of bones. The bones, even though appear as a bridge, the basal part of it is free and not connected to anything. It is the collection of various tracts and nuclei, all aid to serve the purpose of the bone's function. These fibers of tracts and nuclei that travel down from the cortex are called pontine nuclei. The middle cerebellar peduncles are formed when fibers of pontine nuclei from one side across over to join together with the other side of the pontine nuclei. This forms the major pathways for the information to travel to the cerebellum from the brain and brainstem. The main artery for the blood supply of the entire brain is present in the bones called the basilar groove. It is a hollow groove that lodges the basilar artery and is present in the middle of the fibers. Children, let us discuss the structure of anterior bones. Anterior bones is also the origin point of many nerves like trigeminal nerve, which is the 5th cranial nerve and the most complex of all cranial nerves. The abundance nerve, which is the 6th cranial nerve, the facial nerve and the vestibulocular nerve, which are the 7th and 8th cranial nerves respectively. All of these nerves that originate from the bones serve very specific functions. Now, posterior bones. The posterior bones, when separated the connections of bones with the cerebellum, the posterior surface is revealed and the bones covers the upper half of the 4th vertical. If exposes the midline of the floor, which is called medial eminence, the fibers of the facial nerves looping around the abundance nucleus form a bulge called facial colliculus. Children, now let us discuss the functions of bones. The function of bones in the brain is very important and widespread due to its physiology and its characters to respiratory control and many other cranial nerve functions as well. The function of bones in the brain can be better understood once the entire anatomy and location of the bones in the brain are clear. The two centers, epenastic center present in the lower part of the bone and the pneumotaxic center present in the upper part of the bones, control the rate and depth of involuntary respiration or breathing. Signals relay is continuously occurring and it is controlled by the pontine fibers. The trigeminal nerve provides sensory supply to the entire face, part of the neck and scalp, and is thus responsible for healing in the face. It is also controls the muscles that are responsible for eating habits like biting, chewing, and even the swallowing process. The facial expressions are controlled due to the motor signals provided by the facial nerves that is present in the bones. It is also controls salivations as it carries taste sensations and it provides innervations to the salivary glands and also regulates the cranial reflex. The movements of sound from the ear to brain is controlled by the vestibulocochlear nerve that originates from the pons. Pons, being a part of the brainstem, is also involved in impacting several automatic functions that are necessary for life, like breathing and even the controlling of sleep cycles. Pons is also responsible for proprioception, fine touch, and vibration. Because of this ascending medial lemnicus tracts, the ascending spinothalamic tract present in the tegmentum is also responsible for pain and temperature sensations. The descending corticospinal tract is the pons regulate the voluntary motor controls the body, and the voluntary motor control of the face, head, and neck. It is controlled by descending quadricobulbar tracts. The activity pons helps in REM means rapid eye movement sleep. The other voluntary motor controls by pons is done for bladder control. Children, let us discuss about pons pathology and injury. Damage in pons can lead to many problems since there are many nerves and nuclei possessed by it that connects and intersects many networks and important bodily functions. The diseases or damage can lead to severe damage. An individual suffers from this damage disrupts voluntary muscle control, and they also lose the ability to speak if there is a damage to nerve pathway in the pons that connects the cerebrum, spinal cord, and cerebellum. This is called the locked-in syndrome. The locked-in syndrome is also a result of reduced blood flow, which can also result in strokes and clots or sometimes even bleeding in pons. Central pontine melanolysis. Central pontine melanolysis is caused when the myelin sheath of nerve cells in the pons is damaged and results in paralysis. Lacunar stroke. Lacunar stroke is caused when the arteries that supplies blood to the pons are blocked due to any reason, and it results in loss of memory, inability to speak and walk, paralysis, coma, or even death. Pons tumor. Pons tumor results in sensory defects of trunk and limbs, weakness in the facial muscles, and even hearing impairments when the cochlear nerve is affected. Pontine hemorrhage. Pontine hemorrhage is caused when any of the fiber of the pontine nuclei are damaged, and this also results in paralysis of the lateral rectus. Due to diseased blood flow in the arteries rising from the basilar artery, it leads to infraction of the pons that damages the function of the lower limb. Children, we conclude that finally the pon in the brain is visibly the most distinct part due to their horseshoe structure and bridge-like appearance. Even though from the embryonic stage of the adult stage the pons develop is only 25 centimeters length, it controls most important voluntary functions like chewing, swallowing, and even involuntary movements like breathing. The uniqueness of this part of the brain is that it is the starting point of many cranial nerves that also foster the diversity of multiple nuclei and fibers. The pons has a long list of functions that it controls, even starting from the tiniest change and in facial expressions and arousal is controlled by the pons to the heavy duty of managing sleep, that is the circadian cycle, and other activities through motor control. Due to its cerebellum connections posture, it is also maintained by the pons, and importantly, the equilibrium and muscle tone is also maintained by the pons. With this presence, many things run smoothly, and even a small damage can create a heavy in the body, leading of serious effects like paralysis and death. Therefore, a proper care and regular healing through a proper diet to prevent the strokes and keep it activated is very, very important. Children, now let us discuss about pituitary. The main function of the pituitary is related to the production of hormones, as it is the part of endocrine system. The pituitary gland is a gland in the brain that produces hormones that controls many bodily functions. It is also known as the master gland. Children, now let us discuss about spinal cord. The spinal cord controls the reflex actions and conducts messages between different parts of the body and brain. The spinal cord is a tube-like organ and runs from the brain to the lower back, carrying nerve signals between the brain and the body. It's the part of the central nervous system along with the brain. Children, let us discuss the structure of spinal cord. The spinal cord is made up of soft tissue and nerve cells, and it is surrounded by vertebrae. It's covered by 3 layers of protective tissue called membranes. Cerebrospinal fluid surrounds the spinal cord to cushion it from shock and injury. The spinal cord ends in the cone-shaped structure called the cons medullaris. Children, now let us discuss about peripheral nerve system. The peripheral nerve system is composed of cranial nerves and spinal nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. These cranial nerves comes out of the brain and go to the organs in the head region. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. The spinal nerves comes out of the spinal cord and goes to the organs which are below the head region. Children, now let us discuss the functions of peripheral nerve system. Organs and limbs are connected to the central nervous system, essentially assisting as a relay between the spinal cord, the brain and the rest of the body, which is the main function of the peripheral nerve system. Children, now let us see the classification of peripheral nerve system. The 2 parts of the peripheral nerve system are named the somatic nerve system and the autonomic nerve system. Let us discuss about somatic nerve system. The impulse is transferred to the skeletal muscle from the central nerve system via the help of the somatic nerve system. Cranial and spinal nerves are also termed as the major components of the somatic nerve system. It is responsible for carrying messages from the outer area of the body. The somatic nerve system is made up of 2 kinds of neurons. One type is called sensory neurons or efferent neurons, and the other kind is known as motor neurons or efferent neurons. The efferent neurons are responsible for transmitting messages to the central nervous system, where the data is then proceed, while the efferent neurons are responsible for relaying information from the central nervous system to different parts of the body via muscles. Children, now let us discuss about cranial nerves. These cranial nerves are formed to emerge from the brain. From the brain, around 12 pairs of cranial nerves emerge. The names of all 12 cranial nerves are as follows: olfactory nerve, optic nerve, oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, trigeminal nerve, abducens nerve, facial nerve, vestibulocular nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, vagus nerve, accessory nerve and hypoglossal nerve. Then come to the spinal nerves. The emerge of the spinal cord, these nerves has 31 pairs. They move towards the area of ventral and dorsal roots. Between 2 roots there is a junction where the sensory fibers and the motor fibers continue into the dorsal root and the ventral root respectively. Children, now let us discuss about autonomic nerve system. This autonomic nerve system is response which comes from the central nerve system is passed on to the smooth muscles and involuntary organs of the body via the pathway of the autonomic nerve system. It also has 2 further divisions which are known as systematic and parasystematic nerve systems. The automatic nerve system is composed of a chain nerve ganglion which runs along with the spinal cord. It controls all the involuntary actions in the human body. Our autonomic nerve system can be divided into 2 parts, that is sympathetic nerve system and parasympathetic nerve system. Sympathetic nerve system. This part of the autonomous nerve system heightens the activity of an organ as per the need. For example, during running, there is an increased demand of oxygen by the body. This is fulfilled by an increased breathing rate and increased heart rate. This sympathetic nerve system works to increase the breathing rate and heart rate. In this case, there are nerves that rise from the spinal cord. It is found to be located between the neck and the wrist region. The adrenaline is responsible for stimulating the sympathetic nerve system. It is responsible for preparing the body against all the violent actions which can take place during the abnormal conditions of the body. Parasympathetic nerve system. This part of the autonomous nerve system slows down the activity of an organ and thus has a calming effect. During sleep, the breathing rate slows down and goes does the heart rate. This is facilitated by the parasympathetic nerve system. It can be said that parasympathetic nerve system helps in the conservation of energy. The location of parasympathetic nerve system is anterior in the neck and head. On the other hand, the location of the posterior is the sacral region. This nerve system is totally responsible for re-establishing the normal conditions in the body when the violent action gets over. Children, now let us discuss the role of peripheral nerve system in the human body. The internal homeostasis is regulated by this nerve system. The release of secretions from exocrine glands is controlled by the peripheral nerve system. The brain and the spinal cord are connected to the body and the outer environment to the pathways of the peripheral nerve systems. It works as a connecting link between the central nerve system, organs, skins, and limbs of the body. The complex behavior and movements are controlled by the peripheral nerve system. When any kind of sensation is felt within any part of the body, then it's carried out the central nerve system by the help of the skin's sensory receptors. Then the signals is taken to the sensory organs. Involuntary muscles are found to be controlled by autonomic motor cells. Children, now let us discuss the disorders of peripheral nerve system. A peripheral nerve disorder is a condition that occurs when the nerves outside of the brain and spinal cord are damaged. There are many types of peripheral nerve disorders and they can cause a range of symptoms including pain, numbness, and weakness. Children, let us discuss the causes of disorders for peripheral nerve system. First one is diabetes. Diabetes is the most common cause of peripheral nerve system. Second one is physical injury. The trauma that stretches, rushes and squeezes a nerve. Then infections. Infections for peripheral nerve system such as HIV and Lyme diseases and autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases such as arthritis and lupus is caused by peripheral medications. Certain medications can also damage the peripheral nerve system. Then toxic substance. Exposure to lead or mercury can damage the peripheral nerve system. Alcohol and smoking. Alcohol and smoking can also damage the peripheral nerve system and the nerves. Symptoms for peripheral nerve system disorders are like pain, can feel sharp burning or like a shock, or muscle problems can include weakness, cramps and twitching, and sensory changes can include tingling, numbness and sensitivity to touch, and autonomic symptoms can include changes in blood pressure, sweat and bowel and bladder problems. Children, let us discuss the treatment for peripheral nerve system. Children, let us discuss the treatment for peripheral nerve system. Treatment depends upon the cause. For example, if diabetes is the cause, a doctor may prescribe blood sugar medication. For carpal tunnel syndrome, a doctor may recommend a splint or a surgery. Peripheral nerve tumor can remove with the damaging the nerve. Thank you. Children, now let us discuss the functions of spinal cord. The spinal cord carries nerve signals between brain and the body. It controls coordinated movements like walking, running, swimming, etc., as well as urination. It's also the center for reflexes like the knee jerk reflex. Damage to the spinal cord can affect movement or function in other body movements. Children, now let us discuss about reflex action. The reflex action is a special case of involuntary movement in involuntary organs. When a voluntary organ is in the vicinity of sudden danger, it is immediately pulled away from the danger to save itself. For example, when your hand touches a very hot electronic iron, you move away your hand in a jerk. All of this happens in a flash and your hand is saved from the imminent injury. This is an example of reflex action. Reflex arch, the path through which nerve signals involved in a reflex action travels, is called reflex arch. The following flow chart shows the following signal of reflex arch. Receptors to sensory neurons to relay neurons to motor neurons to effectors, means muscles. The receptor is the organ which comes in the danger zone. The sensory neurons pick signals from the receptor and send them to the relay neuron. The relay neuron is present in the spinal cord. The spinal cord sends signals to the effectors via the motor neuron. The effector comes in action, moves the receptor away from the danger. The reflex arch passes at the level of the spinal cord, and signals involved in reflex action do not travel up to the brain. This is important because sending signals to the brain would involve more time. Although every action is ultimately controlled by the brain, the reflex action is mainly controlled at the level of spinal cord. Protection of brain and spinal cord. Children's brain is protected by a fluid-filled balloon which acts as a shock absorber and enclosed in cranium like brain box. Spinal cord is enclosed in vertebral column. Children, now let us discuss the muscular movement and nerve controls. Muscle tissues have special filaments called actin and myosin. When a muscle receives a nerve signal, a series of events is triggered in the muscle. Calcium ions enter the muscle cells. It results in actin and myosin filaments sliding towards each other, and that is how a muscle contracts. Contraction in a muscle brings movement in leading the organ. Children, here is a flow chart for muscular movement and nerves control. Muscle change in the shape and arrangement of proteins, then contraction of muscle cells from muscle shortening, then action, information collected by muscle nerve tissue or sensory nerve, then come to central nerve system, information proceed by central nerve system, decision made by central nerve system, motor nerve send messages, again pass it to the muscles. This is the flow chart of muscular movement and nerves control. Children, now let us discuss about endocrine system. The endocrine system is composed of several endocrine glands. A ductless gland is called endocrine gland. Endocrine gland secretes its product directly into the bloodstream. Hormones are produced in the endocrine glands. Hormone is mainly composed of protein, and hormone assists the nerve system in control and coordination. Nerves do not react to every nook and corner of the body, and hence hormones are needed to effect control and coordination in those parts. Moreover, unlike nerve control, hormone control is somewhat slower. Children, now let us discuss about endocrine gland. A ductless gland that secretes hormone directly into the bloodstream is called endocrine gland. The human endocrine system is made up of a complex network of glands that secrete different hormones in the human body. Hormones are produced, stored, and released via the endocrine glands in human beings. Each gland produces one or more hormones that target specific organs and tissues in the body. Children, now let us discuss the functions of human endocrine system. The human endocrine system regulates a variety of body functions through hormone releases. The hormones are produced by the endocrine system's gland and pass through the bloodstream to different organs and tissues in the body. Hormones then instructed these organs and tissue about how to act. The endocrine system is controlled of the following body functions like metabolic rate, development and growth of human being, reproduction and sexual function, heart rate, blood pressure. The appetite, that is the need to eat, controls the cycles of sleep and wakefulness, controls the temperature of the body. Children, now let us discuss about endocrine system hormones. In this section, we will learn about some of the hormones in the human body which are secreted by endocrine glands, and these hormones are chemical messengers secreted in very small amount of specialized tissue called ductless glands. They act on target tissue organ usually away from their source. Endocrine system helps in the control and coordination through chemical compounds and are called hormones. Children, this is a flowchart of glands that is secreted by endocrine system and hormone under which organ it is targeted and function. Let us go through with the chart. The pineal gland, which is secreted by endocrine system, and a hormone is released as melatonin, and targeted of organs are many. Functions is biological clock. Next come to the pituitary gland. Pituitary gland secretes the hormone like FSH, LH, ADH, growth hormone, oxytocin, prolactin, etc. and organs, it targets the organs like ovaries, kidneys, many others, and uterus, breast tissues, etc. The functions of this pituitary gland affects on menstruation cycle, osmoregulation, growth and division, birth contraction, milk production. Let us look into the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland secretes thyroxine hormone and it targets the organ liver and function is metabolic rate. Next come to the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland secretes adrenal hormone or cortisol hormone and it also targets many organs and its main function is fight or flight, anti-stress. Next one is pancreas. Pancreas secretes insulin and glucagon hormone and it targets the liver and function is to maintain the blood sugar levels. Next one is the gland which is secreted by endocrine system is ovaries and hormone produced by the ovaries are estrogen and progesterone and target the organ is uterus and functions like menstruation cycle. And next one is testis gland. Testis gland secretes testosterone hormones and targets many organs and functions as male characteristics. Children, now let us discuss the list of all important endocrine glands in the human body are as follows. Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is the part of the brain that houses a number of small nuclei that performs various functions. One of the hypothalamus' most essential function is to connect the nerves and the endocrine system via the pituitary gland. The limbic system includes the hypothalamus, which is situated under the thalamus. The hypothalamus is in charge of regulating certain metabolic process as well as other autonomic nerve system behaviors. It produces and secretes certain neurohormones known as releasing hormones or hypothalamic hormones which stimulate or inhibit the pituitary gland hormone secretion. The body temperature, appetites, essential aspects of parenting and attachment behavior, trust, fatigue, sleep, and circadian rhythms and all regulated by the hypothalamus. Now let us discuss about pituitary gland, which is also called as human body master gland. The pituitary gland, which is the master gland of the human body, also known as the hypophysis, is a small endocrine gland that weighs about 0.5 grams and is about the size of a pea. Since it regulates the activity of many other endocrine glands, the pituitary gland is known as the master of the human body. It's a protrusion at the base of the brain and that protrudes from the bottom of the hypothalamus. Hypophysis is found in the center of the middle cranial fossa on the hypophyseal fossa of the sphenoid bone and is enclosed by a narrow bone cavity filled with a buccal fold. The anterior pituitary, also known as the adenohypophysis, is lobe of pituitary that controls stress, development, reproduction, and lactation. The pituitary gland secretes hormone that regulates development, blood pressure, energy balance, all sex functions, all sex organ functions, thyroid gland function and metabolism, as well as some aspects of pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding, water salt concentration in kidneys, temperature regulating, and pain relief. Children, let us discuss the symptoms of pituitary gland problems. Vision problems such as blurred vision or loss of side vision, headache, dizziness, numbness or pain in the face, sleep problems, fatigue, weakness, nausea, etc. Children, let us discuss in detail about hormones produced by pituitary gland. First is growth hormone. Growth hormone, also known as human growth hormone HGH, this hormone helps build bones and muscles and influences height. Next, adrenocorticotropic hormone. This hormone triggers the adrenal glands to release cortisol, which helps to regulate blood pressure, metabolism, and blood sugar levels. Next one is follicle stimulating hormone. This hormone stimulates the ovaries to produce estrogens and can help mature ovarian follicles. In men, it stimulates sperm production. Luteinizing hormone. This hormone stimulates ovulation in people assigned female at the birth and testosterone production in people assigned male at the birth. Prolactin. This hormone stimulates breast milk production after giving birth. It also contributes to breast tissue development. Thyroid stimulating hormone. This hormone stimulates the thyroid to produce hormones that manage metabolism, energy levels, and nerve system. Children, now let us discuss about follicle stimulating hormone FSH. The pituitary gland secretes follicle stimulating hormone FSH. The follicle stimulating hormone FSH is a hormone that affects sexual development and reproduction in both men and women. It produces in the pituitary gland. FSH aids in the regulation of the menstruation cycle in women and promotes the development of eggs in the ovaries. Women's FSH levels fluctuated during the menstruation cycle, with the maximum levels occurring right before the ovaries release an egg. This is referred to as ovulation. FSH aids in the regulation of sperm's production in males. Let us see how FSH works. In females, FSH helps with ovulation and the menstruation cycle. It stimulates the growth hormone of follicles in the ovaries and prepares them for ovulation. FSH levels vary throughout the menstruation cycle and are highest just before ovulation. FSH in males stimulates the production of sperms. It also maintains the function of Sertoli cells in the testes. FSH test. Let us see how FSH test. FSH test can diagnose conditions that cause too much or too little FSH. For women, FSH test can help diagnose infertile, menstrual irregularities and menopause. FSH test can also determine when a woman is most likely to get pregnancy. Now children, let us see the levels of FSH. Normal FSH levels vary by age and sex. For example, before puberty, normal FSH levels are 0 to 5.0 ml, while during puberty they are 0.3 to 10.0 ml. High FSH levels in women can indicate a loss of ovarian function, menopause, or polycystic ovarian syndrome. Children, now let us discuss about luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone is released by pituitary glands and it is important for sexual development and function. LH aids in the regulation of the menstruation cycle in women. It also causes an egg to be released from the ovary. It is referred to as ovulation. Luteinizing hormone LH is a hormone that regulates sexual development and fertility. It produced by the pituitary gland, already we discussed that, and released into the bloodstream. Let us see how does it works in women. LH triggers ovulation and the release of progesterone. LH levels peak around the middle of the menstruation cycle. In the men, LH causes the testosterone to produce testosterone, which is needed to produce sperm when LH levels change. In children, LH levels are high after birth, then drop until puberty. In women, LH levels vary throughout the menstruation cycle. After menopause, LH levels increase. In men, low LH levels can be a sign of late puberty, which high levels can be sign of earlier puberty. Let's see testing of LH. LH test measure the amount of LH in your blood. This test can also help diagnosis conditions that affects the ovaries, testes, pituitary gland and hypothalamus, and this test can also help to determine the causes of infertility. Let us discuss about oxytocin hormone. Oxytocin is secreted by pituitary gland. The function of oxytocin in female reproduction is well known. It is released in the significant quantities during labor and after nipple stimulation. This use of oxytocin as a medicinal agent during labor and childbirth is one of the oldest use of oxytocin as the medicine. The pituitary gland stores and releases oxytocin into the bloodstream. The hypothalamus produces oxytocin. The oxytocin is a hormone that plays a key role in the reproductive system and human behavior. It also known as love hormone because it promotes positive feelings. The hypothalamus is the part of the brain that produces this oxytocin and pituitary gland that stores and releases oxytocin into the bloodstream. The posterior pituitary gland stores oxytocin in the pars nervosa, also known as the neural or posterior lobe. The posterior pituitary gland that stores and releases oxytocin hormones. And let us discuss the functions of oxytocin. The main function of the oxytocin is reproduction. Oxytocin increases contractions during labor and birth and releases milk after the birth. And behavior of this hormone is influence social recognition, relationship formation and love emotional attachment. It also helps low stress and anxiety and builds trust. That is the reason it called as love hormone. Let us discuss the conditions that affect the posterior pituitary gland. First one is hypersecretion. Too much of oxytocin is released, that is called hypersecretion, and hyposecretion is too little secretion of oxytocin. And tumors can also affect the posterior pituitary gland, but they are rare. Children, now let us discuss about another hormone which is released by pituitary gland. It is called prolactin. Prolactin is involved in hundreds of psychological activities, but two of the most are milk production and the growth of mammary glands in breast tissues. Prolactin encourages the development of mammary alveoli, which are the components of the mammary gland where the milk is produced. Prolactin is a hormone that helps the breast development and lactation. A blood test can be measured prolactin levels to help diagnosis conditions of a prolactin tumor. The prolactin levels are in men less than 20 per milliliters, and non-pregnancy in women the prolactin levels are less than 20, and when pregnant or breastfeeding it is about 80 to 40 ml. Let us discuss what can cause high prolactin levels. Some medications can affect dopamine production, which can increase prolactin levels. This includes childbirth control pills, antipsychotics, high blood pressure medications, and more. Some health conditions can cause high prolactin levels, including kidney diseases, hyperthyroidism, liver failure, and polycystic ovarian syndrome, etc. Let's see how is prolactin test performed. A doctor can provide information or any special preparation needed for the test. For the best accuracy, blood is drawn 3 to 4 hours waking up in the morning. In some cases, patients may need to be fast before the test. Children, now let us discuss about pineal gland. The pineal gland, also known as the epiphysis cerebrin, is a small endocrine gland found in most vertebrates' brain. Melatonin, a serotonin derived hormone produced by the pineal gland, regulates sleep patterns in both circadian and seasonal cycles. The pineal gland is tucked in a groove where the two halves of the thalamus meet in the hypothalamus near the middle brain between the two hemispheres. The pineal gland is a neuroendocrine secretory circumventricular organ with capillaries that are largely permeable to blood solids. Melatonin production is the pineal gland primary role. Melatonin functions in the nervous system in a variety of ways, the most important of which is to help regulate sleep patterns. Darkness stimulates melatonin development while light inhibits it. Children, now let us discuss about melatonin. Melatonin is secreted by pineal gland. Melatonin is a hormone of darkness that mediates dark signals and provides night information rather than being a sleep hormone. It also thought to be an endogenous synchronizer, stabilizing and reinforcing the body various circadian rhythms. The pineal gland is a small gland in the brain that produces melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep and circadian rhythms. Let's see what is melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that's present in small amount of living things. It helps to regulate other hormones. Melatonin can be made synthetically in a laboratory and hold as a dietary supplement. What does this pineal gland do? The melatonin is produced by pineal gland, which helps to regulate the body internal clock and sleep patterns. Melatonin production is a link to the light dark cycle, with the highest levels of produced at night. Melatonin helps the coordinate the body psychologically and behavioral adaptations of the day and night seasons. Thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped endocrine gland in the neck that produces hormone that regulates metabolism, growth, and development. A thin band of tissue called thyroid isthmus connects the lower two-thirds of the lobes. The thyroid gland is found below Adam's apple in the front of the neck. The peripheral thyroid follicle, lined with follicular cells and occasional parafollicular cells that surrounded a lumen containing coil, is the function unit of the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland produces three hormones, iodothyronine and thyroxine are the two thyroid hormones that are created from iodine and thyrosin and calcitonin, a peptide hormone. The thyroid hormones affects metabolic rate and protein synthesis as well as growth and development in infants. Calcium homeostasis is supported by calcitonin. Thyroid hormones modulate DNA transcription by crossing the cell membrane and binding to nuclear thyroid hormone receptors. The thyroid hormone also functions within the cell membrane or cytoplasm through reactions with enzymes such as calcium epitase, adenyl cyclase, and glucose transporters, in addition to their actions on DNA. Iodized salt is necessary because iodine mineral is essential part of thyroid hormone. So it is important we must consume iodized salt, as in turn it is essential for thyroid gland as it controls carbohydrate, proteins and fat metabolism. For best balance of growth, deficiency of iodine may cause disease called goiter. Children, thyroid gland produces hormone that controls the body metabolism. However, the body uses energy. The growth and development, the thyroid gland produces hormones that stimulate somatic and physic growth. Calcium metabolism. The thyroid gland produces calcitonin, which helps regulate blood calcium levels. The T4 is an inactivate thyroid hormone and T3 is an activate thyroid hormone. Thyroid disorders are very common and can affect anyone, but mainly occurs in women. These disorders can be temporary or permanent and include an overactive and underactive thyroid. Children, let us discuss about parathyroid gland. Humans and others tetrapods have tiny endocrine glands in their necks called parathyroid glands. The parathyroid glands are a group of small glands in the neck that produces parathyroid hormone, regulates calcium levels in the body, which are important for muscle and nerve functions. Humans have 4 parathyroid glands, which are commonly found on the neck of the back thyroid gland in different places. In response to low blood stream, the parathyroid gland produces and secretes the parathyroid hormone, which plays an important role in controlling the amount of calcium in the blood and bones. The primary function of parathyroid gland is to keep calcium and phosphate levels in the blood within a small range so that the nerve system and muscular system can work properly. This is accomplished by parathyroid gland secreting parathyroid hormone. Children, the main function of parathyroid gland is to maintain the calcium levels, that is PTH controls calcium levels in the blood by stimulating the release of calcium from bones, the absorption of calcium from food and the conservation of calcium by the kidneys. Another function is to produce vitamin D. The parathyroid hormone helps to active vitamin D, which helps the intestine absorption of calcium. Children, let us discuss the disorders of parathyroid. First one is hyperparathyroidism. When the blood produces too much of PTH, which leads to high calcium levels in the blood, is called hyperparathyroidism. Second one is hypoparathyroidism. When the blood produces too little PTH, which leads to low calcium levels in the blood. Children, let us discuss about parathyroid hormone. The parathyroid hormone is secreted by parathyroid gland. The parathyroid hormone causes the bones to release calcium into the bloodstream. The intestines absorb calcium from the food and the kidneys conserve calcium. The parathyroid hormone gland refers to as parathyroid glands, which are 4 tiny glands located behind the thyroid gland in the neck, responsible for production parathyroid hormone that regulates calcium levels in the blood by signaling the bones to release calcium when levels are low. Essential, the parathyroid glands are the only glands that secreted parathyroid hormone. Let's see the key points of the parathyroid glands. The function of parathyroid glands, already we discussed that it regulates the calcium levels in the blood by releasing parathyroid hormone. Location is situated in the posterior surface of the thyroid gland in the neck, and hormone produced are PTH. When blood calcium levels drop, the parathyroid gland releases PTH, which stimulates the bone to release calcium into the bloodstream and also signals the kidney to reabsorb calcium. Children, let us discuss about the thymus gland. The immune system thymus is a specialized primary lymphotic cells or T cells grow within this thymus. T cells play a crucial role in the adaptive immune system, which allows the body to respond to foreign invaders. The thymus is found in the anterior superior mediastinum, behind the sternum, and in the front of the heart in the upper front portion of the chest. It constitutes of 2 lobes, each within a central medulla and outer cortex, and it is enhanced in a capsule. Children, now let us discuss about adrenal gland. The adrenal glands are a pair of small triangular shaped glands located on the top of each kidney. They produce hormones that regulates many important bodily functions, including blood pressure, heart rate, and metabolism. The adrenal glands are also known as suprarenal glands or endocrine glands that contain adrenal and the steroids, aldosterone, and cortisol, among other hormones. Children, let us discuss the parts of adrenal glands. Adrenal cortex. The outer layer of adrenal gland that produces steroid hormones is called adrenal cortex. Adrenal medulla. The central of the adrenal gland that produces catecholamines such as epinephrine and epinephrine. Hormones that produced by adrenal glands. Cortisol helps regulating the body's response to stress. Aldosterone helps regulates the body pressure and salts and water levels. Epinephrine, catecholamine that helps regulates the body response to stress. Norepinephrine, catecholamine that helps regulates the body's response to stress. These are the hormones which are produced by adrenal glands, and testosterone also a hormone that produced by adrenal glands in small amounts. Children, let us discuss the disorders of adrenal gland. An adrenal insufficiency caused by Addison's disease occurs when the adrenal gland do not produce enough hormones. Nodules. Nodules can be benign or malignant and can produce excessive amount of hormones. High cortisol levels can cause upper body obesity, fatigue, high blood pressure, diabetes, and more. Children, let us discuss about adrenaline hormone. An adrenaline known as Epinephrine is secreted by adrenal gland. Adrenaline is also known as epinephrine, is a hormone that helps the body to respond stressful or dangerous situations. It released by the adrenal gland, which is located above the kidneys. The adrenaline main effects involving raising heart rate, blood pressure, widening lungs for air passages, enlarging the pull in the eye, redistributing blood to muscles, and charging the body's metabolism to maximizing the blood sugar levels mainly for the brain. Children, let us see how this gland works. When the brain detects stress, it sends signals messages to the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland releases adrenaline into the bloodstream. The adrenaline causes a number of changes in the body, including faster the heart rate, faster the breathing, increased blood pressure, increased blood sugar levels, increased alertness, large pupils, sweating, reduced pain. Children, let us see when it releases the hormone. When adrenaline is released during short-term stress such as fear or sudden shock, it can also be released in response to anxiety, worry or thoughts. Let us see which medicine is used for this adrenal released hormone. Adrenal is used as a medicine to treat conditions like cardiac arrest, allergic reactions and superficial bleedings. It can also be used to treat asthma and cough. Let us see the side effects of this hormone. The adrenal can cause side effects like anxiety, shakiness and sweating. It can also cause a faster heart rate and high blood pressure. Children, now let us discuss about aldosterone hormone. This aldosterone hormone is a steroid hormone secreted by the adrenal gland. Aldosterone is a hormone that helps to regulate blood pressure and fluid balance in the body. It produced in the adrenal gland, which sit on the top of the kidneys. The main function of the aldosterone is to control salt and water in the body, thus influencing blood pressure. Children, now let us discuss how this aldosterone hormone works. This aldosterone helps balance sodium and potassium levels in the body. When the blood pressure is low, aldosterone signals the kidney to retain sodium and secrete potassium. This increases the amount of water in the bloodstream, which increases the blood pressure. When blood pressure returns to normal, aldosterone levels decreases. Children, let us discuss what happens when aldosterone levels are abnormal. Too much aldosterone can cause high blood pressure and low potassium levels, and too little aldosterone also can cause impact on the health. Children, now let us discuss how is aldosterone measured. An aldosterone test measures the amount of aldosterone hormone in your body or by urine. Children, now let us discuss what conditions are associated with abnormal aldosterone levels. Like hyperaldosteronism is a condition associated with abnormal aldosterone levels, symptoms including high blood pressure and low potassium levels. Children, now let us discuss another hormone which is called cortisol. This cortisol is a steroid hormone secreted by adrenal gland. Cortisol is a hormone that helps the body respond to stress, regulate blood pressure and control inflammation. It also known as stress hormone. This cortisol controls a variety of vital functions in the body, including metabolism and immune response. It plays a vital role in assisting the body's stress response. Children, let us discuss how this cortisol hormone works. The pituitary gland in the brain regulates how much cortisol the adrenal gland releases. When you are stressed, the pituitary gland signals the adrenal glands to produce more cortisol. Cortisol's levels fluctuate throughout the day. Children, let us see how does it works. It helps the body respond to stress and danger, and it helps to control blood pressure. It helps to regulate the blood sugar and also regulate the metabolism. It also helps to regulate the sleep awake cycle and controls the inflammation. It also helps to regulate the immune system. Children, now let us discuss when cortisol levels are too high or too low, what happens. The high levels can lead to Cushing syndrome, which can cause a rapid weight gain, high blood pressure and osteoporosis. The low levels of cortisol can lead to Addison's disease, which can cause fatigue, dizziness and weight loss, etc. Children, let us discuss how this can be measured. The cortisol levels can be measured in blood, urine, saliva, or hair, and the treatment is cortisols like compounds called corticosteroids are sometimes used to treat cortisol related diseases. Children, now let us discuss about dihydropentosterone sulfate, which is also called DHEA. The DHEA is secreted by the adrenal gland, and it is a steroid hormone that is produced in the adrenal gland and is a building block of the hormones testosterone and estrogen. It is a weak androgen but can be converted to more potent androgens in the body. The DHEA is a male sex hormone that both men and women produce. DHEA is required for the production of both the male and female sex hormones testosterone and estrogen. It also plays a role in the maturation of male sexual characteristics during puberty. Children, let us discuss how this DHEA works. DHEA is a building blocks of testosterone and estrogen, and it also regulates CBSE gland activity. It is used to paralytical drug in Japan to treat cervical dilations and ripening during childbirth. DHEA is a test measure the amount of DHEA in the blood. Blood is drawn from a vein, usually from the back of the hand or inside the elbow. Children, let us discuss how does it change the age. This DHEAS levels in newborns are high but falls to prepubertal levels within a few days. DHEAS levels increase during adolescence around the age 7 to 9 and continue to increase until the third decade of life. These DHEAS levels can start to decrease, reaching an amount of 20% of the level at high age 25 by age 30. Related conditions like women with adrenal insufficiency have low levels of DHEAS. Lower than normal levels of DHEA in older people have been associated with osteoporosis, heart diseases, memory loss, and breast cancer. Children, now let us discuss about the pancreas gland. The pancreas is a gland in the abdomen that plays a key role in digestion and blood sugar regulation. It's about the size of our hand and it is located behind the stomach. The pancreas is a digestive and endocrine system organ found in invertebrates. The pancreas is the largest endocrine gland in the human body. It is a gland that is found in the abdomen behind the stomach in humans. The pancreas performs both endocrine and digestive exocrine functions. It is an endocrine gland that regulates blood sugar levels by secreting the hormones insulin, glucagon, somatostatin, and pancreatic polypeptide. It works as an exocrine gland in the digestive system, secreting pancreatic juice into the duodenum through the pancreatic duct. Children, let us discuss about digestion. The pancreas produces pancreatic juices or enzymes that break down fat, sugars, and starches. These enzymes travels through ducts and empty into the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, and the pancreas also produces lipase, which works with bile to break down fat. Blood sugar regulation, and the pancreas produces hormones like insulin, glycogen that regulate blood sugar levels. These hormones also stimulate stomach acids and tell the stomach when to empty. Children, let us discuss the parts of pancreas. The pancreas has 5 main parts: the head, neck, body, tail, and urinate process. The head is the wide end of the pancreas on the right side of the body. The tail is the thin end of the pancreas on the left side of the body. Children, let us discuss the diseases of pancreas. The pancreatic disease can be hard to diagnose because of a pancreas location. Most cancers of the pancreas start in the digestive enzymes part of the pancreas. Children, now let us discuss about glucagon. The glucagon is secreted by the pancreas. The glucagon induces glucose synthesis, prevents glucose dehydration, and facilitates the conversion of glycogen to glucose in the liver. The glucagon is a hormone that increases blood sugar levels. It produces in the pancreas and released by the alpha cells of the pancreatic islets. Glucagon is used to treat low blood sugar and is also used in diagnostic tests. Children, let us see how this glucagon works. Glucagon is released when blood sugar levels are low, a condition called hypoglycemia. Glucagon causes the liver to release stored sugar into the blood. Glucagon is an antagonist to insulin, which means it increases blood glucose. Let us discuss the other functions of glucagons. This glucagon also plays a role in hepatic lipid and amino acid metabolism. Glucagon may increase resting energy expenditure. Glucagon may also play a role in appetite regulation. Let's see the medicine for this glucagon. Glucagon is used as a medicine to treat low blood sugar in people with diabetes. Glucagon is also used in diagnostic tests of stomach and other digestive organs. Now let us discuss about insulin. The beta cells of pancreatic isolates of Langerhans secretes the peptide hormone called insulin. Insulin regulates the blood glucose levels by facilitating cellular glucose absorption, controlling carbohydrates, lipid and protein metabolism, and promoting cell division and growth through its mitogenetic effects. Insulin is a hormone that helps regulate blood sugar levels. It is produced by the pancreatic and released into the blood when blood sugar levels arise. Insulin helps glucose enter cells where it can be used for the energy or stored. Let's see how these insulins work. The pancreas produces insulin in response to high blood sugar levels. Insulin binds to receptors on cell membrane, allowing glucose to enter the cells. Glucose is used for energy in the cells or stored for later use. Insulin also helps to break down fats and proteins for energy. Now let us discuss the types of insulin. The rapid-acting insulin. Rapid-acting insulin starts working within minutes of injection, and short-acting insulin it starts working within 30 minutes after injection. Intermediate-acting insulins it starts working about 60 to 90 minutes after injection, and long-acting insulin slowly releases insulin over a long period of time. And next one is mixed insulin. Mixed insulin, a combination of rapid-acting or a short-acting insulin and intermediate-acting insulins. Children, let us see insulin and diabetes. If the pancreas does not produce enough insulin of the immune system attacks the insulin producing cells, or if the immune system attacks the insulin producing cells, blood sugar levels can become too high or too low. This can lead to type 1 diabetes, which requires regular insulin injections. Children, now let us discuss about estrogen. Estrogen is secreted by the ovaries in females. Estrogen is a hormone that plays a vital role in sex and reproductive development in women. It also helps maintain bone and heart health and affects mood, skin, and other tissues. Estrogens are involved in ovarian function such as the maturation of a ovarian follicle as well as a vaginal and uterus maturation and maintenance. Estrogens play a key role in the regulation of gonadotropin secretion. Children, now let us see what does this estrogen do. Reproductive development. Estrogen helps and maintains female sexual characteristics such as breast and pubic hair. Menstruation cycle. During reproductive years, estrogens regulate the menstruation cycle. Bone health. Estrogens helps the maintenance of bone health, and estrogens helps the maintenance of heart health. Mood. Estrogens can affect mood, including mood swings, irritability, and anxiety. Skin health. Estrogens can affect skin health during dry skin. Children, now let us discuss what are the different types of estrogens. First one is estrogen E1, the primary form of estrogen after menopause, and second one is estradiol E2, the primary form of estrogen during reproductive years. Third one is estrosol E3, the primary forms of estrogen during pregnancy. Children, let us see what happens if estrogen levels are too high or too low. If the estrogen levels are too high, can cause bloatings, headaches, hair loss, high blood pressure and blood clots. And if the estrogen levels are very low, can cause dry skin, tender breast, hot flashes, night sweats and moodiness. Now let us discuss about progesterone. The corpus luteum in the ovary secretes the progesterone hormone. The progesterone hormone is an important for sustaining the earlier stages of pregnancy and the menstruation cycle. It may also play a role in the progression of some cancers. It's also used as a medication to treat a variety of conditions. Children, let us see how does this progesterone do. The menstruation cycle, progesterone helps regulate the menstruation cycle. In pregnancy time, the progesterone helps the lining of the uterus grow and accept the development of the baby. It can also help preventing miscarriages in some women. Let's discuss how this hormone functions in menopause. In menopause, progesterone is used in a hormone therapy to treat symptoms of menopause such as hot flashes and vaginal dryness. Birth control. In birth control, progesterone hormone can be used as a form of birth control. Infertility, it can be used as treat of infertility. Now let us see how does it used. Progesterone is available as per prescription medication in the form of capsules or liquid pills. Progesterone is often used in combination with estrogen. The side effects of these hormones includes headaches, breast tenderness, upset stomach and mood swings. Children, now let us discuss about gonad. A gonad, also known as a sex gland or reproductive gland, is a mixed gland that contains an organism's gametes, means sex cells and sex hormones. Two key hormones are related by the female ovaries, which are found in the pelvic cavity. Under the influence of follicle stimulating hormone, the ovarian follicles begin to secrete estrogens at puberty. Estrogens promote the production of secondary sexual characteristics and the maturation of the female reproductive system. Progesterone is produced in response to high luteinizing hormone levels in the blood. It helps to regulate the menstruation cycle by the interacting with estrogens. Children, let us discuss about testosterone. Testosterone is secreted by multiple glands, ovaries, testes and adrenal. Testosterone is a sex hormone with many functions in the body. It's thought to control libido, bone density, fat distribution, muscle mass and strength, and red blood cells and sperm production in men. A small amount of testosterone in the bloodstream is transferred into estradiol and estrogen-like substance. Children, you must have noticed that all plants show well coordinated and controlled movements in spite of the fact that they don't have nerves and muscles. Shifts and changes are one of the essential characteristics of living beings. Changes may occur due to the growth or conversion made in the body components concerning one another, but movements are not haphazard or isolated. They are highly controlled and coordinated. The hormones in plants known as phytohormones coordinated their behavior by affecting their growth. These are responsible for control and coordination in plants. There are different types of hormones which affect the growth of a plant. These are chemical compounds which are released by stimulating cells. These hormones are diffused around the plant cell. They have a role to play in cell division. They have a role to play in the cell division, cell enlargement, cell differentiation, fruit growth, falling of leaf, ripening of fruits, aging of plants, etc. Children, let us discuss what is coordination in plants. Coordination is the ability to use different parts of the plant together smoothly and effectively. In plants, coordination is due to the result of chemical system wherein plant hormones or phytohormones have a major role. Unlike animals, plants do not have a nerve system. Plant use chemicals means for control and coordination. Many plants hormones are responsible for various kinds of movements in plants. Movements in plants exhibit two types of movements. The growth of movements in plant are either directional or non-directional. Children, let us discuss about the directional movement. The directional changes or growth depend are the tropic movements, which means towards or away from the stimulus. Tropic movements are the one which occurs in the direction of stimulus. Positive phototropism is responsible by bending towards the sunlight, which can be seen in the shoots. Negative geotropism is growing away from the ground, which is also shown by shoots. Roots exhibit negative phototropism by bending away from the light and show positive geotropism by growing towards the ground. Chemotropism is a movement of the plant in plants in Chemotropism is a movement of growth in plants in response to the chemical stimulus like growth of pollen tubes towards ovules. Children, let us discuss about non-directional movements. Non-directional or non-growth dependent movements are called the nastic movements, which means independent of stimulus. Nastic movements are independent of growth and plant cells have to change their shape for this movement to occur. This changes takes place in the opposite direction to the stimulus. Children, let us discuss about tropic movements. The tropic movements which are in a particular direction in relation to the stimulus are called tropic movements. Tropic movements happens as a result of growth of the plant part in a particular direction. Tropic movements can be classified again into 5 types. These are geotropism, gravity, phototropism means light, hydrotropism which means water, thigmotropism touch and chemotropism chemicals. Children, let us discuss about geotropism or geotropic movement. The growth in a plant part in response to the gravity is called geotropic movement. Roots usually show positive geotropic movement, that is, they grow in the direction of the gravity. Stems usually show negative geotropic movement. Children, let us see the definition of geotropic movement. Geotropic movement, also known as gravitropism, is the directional growth of the plant in response to gravity, with roots exhibiting positive geotropism means growing downwards and shoot growing negative geotropism which means growing upwards. Children, let us discuss some more detail about geotropism. Geotropism is a type of tropism which are directional growth responses of plants to external stimuli. Specifically, geotropism is the response to gravity. Let us see what is positive geotropism. Positive geotropism refers to the growth of a plant parts towards the force of gravity. Examples: root grow downwards, anchoring the plant in the soil. Let us see what is negative geotropism. This refers to the growth of a plant part away from the force of the gravity. Example: stem grow upwards towards the light. Children, let us discuss why this geotropism is important. Geotropism ensures that roots grow into the soil to absorb water and nutrients. It also helps stem to grow upright, maximum exposure to sunlight for photosynthesis. Children, let us discuss the second type of tropism, which is also called phototropic movement or phototropism. The growth in a plant part in response to light is called phototropic movement or phototropism. Stems usually show positive phototropic movement, while roots usually show negative phototropic movement. If a plant is kept in a container in which no sunlight reaches and a hole in the container allows some sunlight, the stem finally grows in the direction of the sunlight. This happens because of a higher rate of cell division in the part of stem which is away from the light. As a result, the stem bends towards the light. The heightened rate of cell division is attained by increased secretion of the plant hormone auxin, in which is away from the sunlight. Children, let us see the definition of phototropism or phototropic. Phototropic movement in plants is the growth or bending of a plant towards or away from a light source driven by the plant hormone auxin and mediated by photoreceptors like phototropins, allowing plants to optimize sunlight capture and photosynthesis. Children, let us discuss some more details of phototropism. Children, already we discussed that phototropism is the growth or movement of a plant or part of a plant towards positive phototropism or away from negative phototropism, a light source. Shoots above the ground parts typically exhibit positive phototropism, bending towards the light to maximize light exposure for photosynthesis. Roots, on the other hand, often show negative phototropism, growing away from the light, likely to seek water and nutrients in the soil. Children, let us discuss the role of auxin in phototropism. Auxin is a plant hormone, plays a crucial role in phototropism. Light prescription triggers the redistribution of auxin, causing cells on the shaded side of a stem to elongate more than cells on the illuminated side. This differential growth leads to the bending of the stem towards the light source. Children, let us discuss the mechanism of phototropism. Light perception. Plant perceive light using photoreceptors such as phototropins, which are proteins located in the plasma membrane. Auxin redistribution. When a plant is exposed to light, phototropins detect the light and initiate a signal cascade that leads to the redistribution of auxin. Cell elongation. Auxin promotes cell elongation, and unequal distribution of auxin causes cells on the shaded side to elongate more than those on the illuminated side, leading to the bending of the stem towards the light. Children, let us discuss the examples of phototropic response. First one is stem bending towards a window or a light source. Second one is roots growing away from the light into the soil. Children, let us discuss the historical significance of phototropism or phototropic movement. Charles Darwin and his son Francis Darwin conducted experiments on phototropism in grass seedling, observing that the tip of the seedling perceived light, but the bending response occurred below the tip. They proposed that a substance later identified as auxin was responsible for this bending response. Children, let us discuss about hydrotropic movement. When roots grow in the soil, they usually grow towards the nearest source of water. This shows a positive hydrotropic movement. Hydrotropism is the directional growth of a plant, particularly its roots, in response to a water or moisture gradient, allowing plants to forage for water and nutrients. Children, let us discuss the definition of hydrotropism. Hydrotropism is a type of tropism, means a directional growth response where plants, especially roots, grow towards areas of higher water potential, which means moisture. Let us see the mechanism of hydrotropism. Plants detect water through various stimuli, including changes in moisture levels and water potential. The root cap senses the moisture gradient and sends signal to the elongating part of the root, which then directs its growth towards the water source. Children, let us see why this hydrotropism is important. Yes, hydrotropism is crucial for plant survival, especially in environments where water is scarce, as it helps plants access vital water and nutrients. Children, let us discuss the interaction of hydrotropism with other tropism. Hydrotropism can interact with other tropisms such as gravitotropism, growth in response to gravity, and the final growth form of the plant is influenced by these interactions. Children, let us see the examples of hydrotropism. A plant root growing in humid air bending towards a higher relative humidity level. The plant roots growing towards a water source underground. Examples are tomato roots, radish roots, and carrot roots. Children, now let us discuss about trigonotropism or trigonotropism movement. Their growth in a plant part in response to touch is called trigonotropism movement. Such movements are seen in tendrils of climbers. The tendrils grow in a way so as it can coil around a support. The differential rate of cell division in different parts of these tendrils happens due to the action of auxin. This movement helps plants grow and gain nutrition. Children, let us discuss how this trigonotropism works. The differential growth, the side of a plant that is touched grow more slowly than the side that it isn't touched. This causes the plant to curve around this object. Hormones of this tropism releases like auxin and ethylene to help it grow faster. And this tropism changes in a cell turgor alter the shape of the plant, causing it to curve. Children, let us discuss the examples of trigonotropism. Tendrils of climbing plants coil around a fence. Roots of a plant grow around on obstacle and red vine. Tendrils coil upon contact. Leaves using their roots to climb up and sealing to trees. Children, let us see what is positive trigonotropism. When a plant moves towards a contact stimulus, it's called positive trigonotropism. When a plant moves away from a contact stimulus, it's called negative trigonotropism. And haptotropism means another term of trigonotropism. Children, now let us discuss about chemotropism in plants. Chemotropism in plants refers to the directional growth of a plant part like a pollen tube or root in response to a chemical stimulus, either towards positive chemotropism or away from negative chemotropism, the source of the chemicals. Let us see the definition of chemotropism. Chemotropism is a type of tropism which is a directional growth or movement of plant in response to an external stimulus. Children, let us see the chemical stimuli of this chemotropism. Plants can respond to various chemical stimuli including sugar, minerals or other compounds released by the environment or other organisms. Children, let us discuss the examples of this chemotropism. For example, pollen tube growth. A classic example is the growth of pollen tubes towards the ovule during fertilization in flowering plants, angiosperms, such as angiosperms. The pollen tube which delivers sperm cells to the ovule is guarded by chemicals released by the ovules. Let us see the another example of chemotropism is root growth. Root can exhibit chemotropism by growing towards or away from a specific chemicals in the soil, such as minerals or harmful substance. Example, roots may grow towards the area with higher concentrations of nutrients. Children, let us see what is this mycoparasitism. Some fungi can sense the presence of other fungi through chemical signals and grow towards them in a process called mycoparasitism, which is an example of positive chemotropism. Children, now let us discuss about positive chemotropism. Positive chemotropism, which means the plant's growth towards the chemical stimulus, and negative chemotropism means the plant's growth away from the chemical stimulus. The main significance of chemotropism plays a crucial role in a plant reproduction, nutrient uptake, and defense against pathogens. Children, let us discuss about nastic movements. The movements which do not depend on the direction from the stimulus act are called nastic movement. Example, when some touches the leaves of mimosa, the leaves droop. This drooping is independent of the direction from which the leaves are touched. Such movements usually happens because of changing water balance in the cells. When leaves of mimosa are touched, the cells in the leaves lose water and become flaccid, resulting in drooping of leaves. These movements are non-directional response to the stimuli. These movements are independent of the direction of the stimulus. These movements can be due to changes in trigger or growth. Examples, already we discussed the response of touch me not plant mimosa. However, this is not a growth phenomena. Children, let us discuss the types of nastic movements. There are 4 main types of nastic movements. There are as follows. First one is photonastic, which means response to light. In some plants, movements is induced due to change in the light intensity. Examples, flowers of Cestrum nocturum or night blooming jasmine open at night and close with the star of the day. Children, let us discuss the another type of movement which is called nasty. This nasty movement at night or in the dark. This type of nastic movement is also called sleeping movement. This is governed by variations in the light and temperature. Hence, it is also called sometimes categorized into photonastic or thermonastic movements. Examples, leaves of clover, and axils close in the evening and open in the morning. Children, let us discuss about what is thermonastic movement. Response to temperature. As the name suggests, thermonastic movements are due to variations in temperatures. Flowers of many plants show this type of movements. Children, let us discuss seismonasty or trigomonasty movement, which means a response to shock, contact, or vibration. This type of nastic movements is due to a chemical stimuli, that is touch, strong wind, raindrops, foreign body, etc. Examples including movement in stigma on receiving pollen grains, movement of stamen in response to insect, mimosa to touch me not, movement in insectivorous plants, etc. Some other types of nastic movements are epinasty, downwards bending, hyponasty, geonasty or gravinasty, response to gravity, chemonasty, response to chemicals, hydronasty, response to water, etc. Children, those we see that the tropic movements are directional and growth depends, while the nastic movements are non-directional and may or may not be growth dependent. Children, let us see the flowchart of coordination in plants, which is movement in plants. Movement in plants divides as tropic movements. Tropic movements are dependent on growth. They shows directional movements in response to stimulus. Again, they divided into 4 types like phototropism, geotropism, chemotropism and hydrotropism. Phototropism shows movement towards the light. Geotropism shows movement towards the gravity. Chemotropism shows movements towards the chemicals, growth of pollen tube towards ovule. Hydrotropism shows the movement towards the water. And another type of movement is nastic movement. Movement is independent of growth and it shows non-directional movement, which again it gives immediate response to stimulus like dropping of leaves of touch me not plant and insectivorous plant. Children, now we are going to discuss about plant hormones. Plant hormones are chemical which help to coordinate growth, development and response to the environment. The control and coordination system in plants is done by plant hormones. They affect the growth of a plant in one or other aspect. The growth of a plant is divided into 3 stages: cell division, cell enlargement, and third one is cell differentiation. Children, so a plant hormone not only controls the stages of a plant growth but also promotion of breaking of dormancy, falling of leaves, fruit growth, ripening of fruits, aging of plants, etc. The 4 types of plant hormones are responsible for control and coordination in plants, and let us see what are those 4 types. First one is auxins, second one is gibberellins, third one is cytokinesis, fourth one is abscisic acid. While auxins, gibberellins and cytokinins promote the growth of a plant, abscisic acid prevents or hampers the growth of a plant. Children, let us discuss in detail about each and every hormone. First, let us discuss about auxin. Auxin synthesized at root tip. Auxin hormone controls a plant response to light and gravity. It is made by the cells at the tip of a stem and roots. This hormone moves the plant away from light and towards gravity. Auxins are plant hormones that regulate growth, particularly cell elongation in stems, and play a role in cell division, fruit development, root formation, and apical dormancy, which means inhibition of lateral branching, etc. Children, let us discuss in detail about auxins. We all know that plants need light, water, oxygen and nutrition to grow and develop. All these qualify as extrinsic factors. While extrinsic factors are important, did you know that plant growth depends on intrinsic factors too? They can be intracellular genes or intercellular chemicals. These chemicals are called plant growth regulators. Let us learn about them in more detail below. Children, once again, let's see the definition and meaning of auxin. Auxins are a group of plant hormones, also known as phytohormones, that regulate growth and development. Auxins are potent growth hormone released by a plant in their natural state. They encourage cell division, stem and root growth and are present in shoot and root tips. They can also have a significant impact on plant orientation by encouraging cell division on one side of the plant in response to sunlight and gravity. Plants require sunlight, water, oxygen and minerals to grow and develop. There are outside influence. Inside from this plant, growth and development are governed by certain intrinsic influences. Plant hormones are also known as phytohormones, are a form of a hormone produced by plant. All growth and development process such as cell division, enlargement, flowering, seed formation, dormancy and abscission are regulated by plant hormones. Children, plant hormones are classified into groups based on their actions. One is plant growth promoters, second one is plant growth inhibitors. Children, let us see the discovery of auxin. Auxins were the first growth hormone to be discovered. They were discovered due to the observations of Charles Darwin and his son Francis Darwin. Darwin's observed that the oleoptile means protective sheet in carnary grass grows and bends towards the source of the light. This phenomena is phototropism. In addition, their experiments show that the oleoptile tip was the site responsible for bending. Finally, this leads to the isolation in the first auxin by FW meant from the oleoptile tip of oat seedling. Children, let us see the role of auxins. Auxins stimulate shoot elongation by influence gibberellins, which facilitate cell elongation. This lengthens the plant. Gibberellins and those auxins increase the distance between nodes, allowing branch points to be faced further apart. Children, auxin is a plant hormone derived from tryptophan, an amino acid. Auxins may be one of the several molecules, but they are all involved in cellular regulation in some way. Plant hormones come in 5 different forms. Auxin molecules are one of them. Gibberellins, cytokinases, ethylene, and abscisic acid are the other main classes. Auxin was the first of those groups to be discovered and it was isolated chemically in the year 1930s. Indole acetic acid or IAA is the most widely used auxin. IAA is an auxin that is essential for plant tissue growth and development. Scientists have been able to replicate similar structures known as synthetic growth regulators by studying auxin molecules. Children, let us discuss the functions of auxin. Auxins are involved in various plant processes including cell elongation. They stimulate cell elongation particularly in stems leading to growth, cell division and differentiation. They play a crucial role in cell division and the differentiation of tissues. Fruit development. They are involved in fruit development and can be used to induce seedless fruit production. And fruit formation. They promote the formation of roots from cuttings. Apical dormancy. They inhibit the growth of lateral buds, promoting the growth of main stem apical bud. Phototropism and gravitropism. Auxins regulate plant response to light and gravity, etc. IAA is the apical bud, suppresses the development of lateral buds due to apical dominance. Parthenocrapy or the growth of the fruit without fertilization is induced, for example, in tomatoes, prevent leaves, flowers and fruits from falling prematurely. Useful in stem cutting and grafting where it encourages flowering, such as in pineapples. 2,4-D is commonly used to herbicide for killing unwanted dicot weeds without warming monocot plants. Cell division and xylem differentiation are aided by this substance. Children, let us discuss the examples of auxins. First one is natural auxins. Indole 3-acetate acid AAA is the most important naturally occurring auxin. Synthetic auxins, naphthalene acetic acid NAA and 2,4-dichlorophenoxacetate acid are the examples of synthetic acids. Children, auxins are produced in the tips of growing stems and roots, apical meristem, etc. Children, let us discuss the another plant hormone, gibberellin. The gibberellin is a type of a growth promoting phytohormone. More than 100 types of gibberellins are identified in different organisms such as fungi and higher plants, and it helps in the growth of the stem. Gibberellins hormones work in the presence of auxin hormone and promote cell enlargement and cell differentiation. It also promotes fruit growth, elongation of shoot, and in breaking the dormancy in seeds and buds. They are commonly denoted as GAI, GA2, GA3, and so on. All GAS are acidic. They are transported throughout the plant body by simple diffusion and vascular tissues. They are manufactured in the plastids through a terpenoid pathway. After formation, they are transferred to the ER and cytosol until they become biological active. Children, let us see the definition of gibberellins. Gibberellins are any group of plant hormones that stimulate elongation of the stem, flowering, and germination. Children, let us discuss in detail about what are gibberellins. Gibberellins are the plant growth regulators involved in regulating the growth and influencing different developmental processes, which include stem elongation, germination, flowering, enzyme induction, etc. Children, gibberellins have different effects on plant growth, and the stem elongation is the most dramatic amongst all. The stem starts to grow when it is applied in low concentration to a bush. The internodes grow so long that the plant becomes indistinguishable from climbing. The gibberellins overcome the genetic intimations in different draft varieties. Children, there are more than 70 gibberellins isolated. As we discussed, there are GAI, GA2, GA3, and so on. GA3 gibberellic acid is the most widely studied plant growth regulators. Children, now let us see the discovery of gibberellins. Rice farmers in Asia in the earlier part of the 20th century were aware of a disease. This disease makes the rice plants grow tall but decline seed productions. The affected plants had weak, elongated stems. They called it the foolish seedling disease in Japan. In 1926, E. Kurosawa reported these symptoms of this particular disease. He reported that these symptoms appeared in seedling on treatment with a fungus filtrate of Gibberellia fugicori. The chemical obtained from the sterile filtrate of those tall parts was named as gibberellin. The chemical compounds is actually gibberellic acid, which induce tallness. Gibberellic acid GA3 is considered as one of the first gibberellins to be discovered. It is the most intensively studied form of gibberellins. Children, let us discuss the functions of gibberellins. Gibberellins perform several functions. Some of them are given below. First one is stimulating stem growth, promoting seed germination. Third one is breaks bud dormancy. Fourth one is delays senescence. The important gibberellins functions are mentioned below. Children, let us discuss the important functions of gibberellin. First one is seed germination. During the process of seed germination, the embryo imbibes water and swells. The embryo produces gibberellins that triggers the synthesis of hydrochloric enzymes like alpha amylase, proteases, lipase, etc. These enzymes digest the starch, protein, and lipids present in the endosperm. This will release nutrients that are required for the synthesis of a new cell. Some seeds that are sensitive to light, such as tobacco and lutein, exhibit poor germination in the absence of sunlight. Germination begins rapidly if the seeds are exposed to the light. If the seeds are treated with the gibberellic acid, the light requirement can be overcome. Children, let us discuss about dormancy of buds. The buds that are transformed in autumn, they stay dormant until next spring. This dormancy can be overcome by treating them with gibberellin. Gibberellins react the growth of buds. The buds that are transformed in autumn stay dormant until next spring. This dormancy can be overcome by treating them with gibberellins. Children, let us discuss the stimulate stem and leaf growth. Gibberellin stimulates stem elongation in dwarf plants after external application of GA3. These plants resemble the tallest varieties of the same species. Accompanying this, the stem thickness and size of the leaves become reduced. Leaves turn to pale green too. Children, let us discuss the function of gibberellin in root growth. Gibberellins have almost no effect on the growth of roots. However, some inhibition of growth can occur at a higher concentration in a few plants. Children, let us discuss the elongation in dwarf plants. Gibberellins cause elongation of internodes in genetically dwarf plants. Examples include pea and maize plants. Dwarfness in this occurs mainly due to deficiency of gibberellins. Children, now let us discuss about bloating in plants. Gibberellins promote stem elongation in roseae plants. Roseae is described as a circular arrangement of leaves. Roseae plants normally show retarded internodal growth and profuse leaf development. Gibberellins promote bolting just prior to flowering or reproductive phase. Bolting is an internode elongation. It is seen in beetroot, cabbage, etc. Children, let us discuss about delay senescence. Senescence is the process of gaining in plants. It occurs due to loss of RNAs, proteins, lipids and chlorophylls. Due to this, the leaves turn reddish yellow. These leaves fall off eventually. Gibberellins delays the aging process and it is considered as one of the aging hormones for plants. Children, now let us discuss the development and ripening of fruits. Gibberellins used along with auxins normally to control fruit growth and development. It is able to induce parthenography also. Fruit ripening is also affected by gibberellin. Ripening of citrus fruit and apples can be delayed with the help of gibberellins. In this way, the fruits can be left on the plant for a long period to extend the market period. This can also be used for safe and prolonged storage of the fruits. Treatment with gibberellins elongated and improve the shape of apples. Children, let us discuss the another function of gibberellins is elongation of the internodes. Internodes elongation is the most pronounced effect of gibberellins on plant growth. In many plants such as dwarf pea and maize, the genetic dwarfism can be overcome. For example, the dwarf pea plants have expanded leaves and short internodes, but the internodes expand and look like tall plants when treated with gibberellin. Gibberellins exhibit their impact by alternating gene transcription. The steps of gibberellin functions are mentioned below. The GA enters the cell and binds to be a soluble protein receptor. This binds to a protein complex that attaches ubiquitin to one or the other DELA proteins. This activates the destruction of DELLA proteins through proteasomes. This destruction of DELLA protein releases the inhibition and gene transcription starts. This producer is amongst different cases in biological where the pathway is turned on by inhibiting the path. However, most of the proteins that are involved differ according to circumstance. Both auxin and gibberellins influence gene expression by a common mechanism of repression relief. Children, let us discuss the uses of gibberellins. Gibberellin is commercially obtained from fungi. It is used to facilitate the germination of seeds. It is sprayed on the grapevines and used to enlarge them. It is used on cucumber plants to produce all male flowers. This helps the farmers to obtain pollen of desired characters to be used for hybridization. Biennial plants produce flowers only during low temperature. When gibberellin is applied, these plants will flowering irrespective of low temperature. The dwarf varieties of a plant which are genetic mutants can be made to grow by applying gibberellins to them. In grapes, gibberellins increases the length of a grape stalk. This will increase the field of grape. In sugar, it increases the stem length of sugarcane and thus increases the field. In sugarcane, the carbohydrates are stored in the form of a sugar in the stem. In malting process, gibberellin accelerates the malting process in the brewing industry. Malting is considered as the process of steeping, germinating and drying again so that it gets converted into malt. The malt is then used for brewing or making whiskey. Children, let us discuss another plant hormone which is called cytokinins. This cytokinins promote cell division. This hormone promotes cell divisions in plant and breaks dormancy in seeds and buds. They also delay aging in leaves and promoting the opening of stomata. Cytokinins are plant hormones that primarily promote cell division. Cytokinesis in roots and shoots influence growth, development and differentiation, while also affecting apical dormancy and delaying leaf senescence. Cytokinins are a bunch of plant growth regulates which are primarily involved in performing cellular division in plant roots and shoot system. This hormone helps in increasing the cell growth, development and differentiation, affecting apical dormancy, leaf senescence and axillary bud growth. These hormones are mostly found all together in all the complex plants, bacteria, mosses and fungi. There are some two different synthetic and natural cytokinases, and most of them are usually developed within the mesoderm of the roots. Children, let us discuss the discovery of cytokinin. F. Sook and co-workers observed that from the internal node segments of tobacco stem, the callus, a mass of undifferentiated cells, proliferated only if in addition to axons, the nutrients medium was supplemented with one of the following extracts of vascular tissues: yeast extract, coconut milk or DNA. Children, let us discuss some more detail about cytokinins. The cytokinins are a class of plant hormones that primarily promote cell division, also known as cytokinesis, and play a crucial role in regulating various aspects of plant growth and development. They are involved in a wide range of psychological processes, including cell division, cell differentiation, and various response to environmental stimuli. Children, let us see where these cytokinins are synthesized. Cytokinins hormones are primarily synthesized in the roots of plants, particularly in the root tips and root merisstems. From there, they are transported to other parts of the plants, including stems, leaves and flowers, to regulate growth and development. Children, primary site of cytokinesis synthesis is in the root tips, where actively dividing cell produce cytokinins. From the root, cytokinins are transported upward through the plant via the xylem, which is the tissue which is responsible for transporting water and nutrients. The other sites like cytokinins also can be synthesized in other plant tissues, including young leaves, fruits and seeds, but the roots are the main production sites. Children, let us see what is this biosynthesis pathways. Cytokinins are synthesized from purine precursors such as adenine or MAP, adenine monophosphate, through a series of enzymatic reactions. One of the most common natural cytokinases is zetine, is derived from isopenaptyl pyrophosphate, a compound involved in the plant's terpenoid biosynthesis pathways. Children, once synthesized in the roots, cytokinesis move through the plant to regulate various growth processes and response to environmental stimuli. Children, let us see the types of cytokinins. There are two types of cytokinins are follows. One is natural cytokinins. They are present naturally in the plants. Examples including zetine, kinetin is naturally present in herring sperm DNA. Synthetic cytokinins. Children, they can be artificially produced. Examples including diazuran. Children, let us see the functions of cytokinins in cell division. Cytokinins stimulate cell division or cytokinesis in plant roots and shoots, which is essential for a plant growth and development. Growth and differentiation. They promote cell growth and differentiation, controlling the formation of different plant tissues and organs. Apical dormancy. Cytokinins influence apical dormancy, the phenomena where the main central stem of a plant grows faster than lateral stems. Axillary bud growth. They promote the growth of axillary buds, which are buds located in the axils, the angles between a leaf and the stem, and they can develop into lateral shoots. Leaf senescence. Their cytokinesis delay leaf senescence, the process of aging and dying, helping to maintain leaf function for a long period. Children, now let us discuss about cytokinin and auxin interaction. Cytokinins work together with other plant hormones, particularly auxins, to regulate plant development. The balance between these two hormones can determine whether a plant tissue develops into root, shoot, or other structures. For example, high cytokinin levels combined with a low oxygen levels typically promote shoot formation, while high oxygen levels combined with low cytokinin levels favor root development. Cytokinins are vital for plant health and development, influencing everything from growth patterns to response to environmental stresses. Let us discuss about another hormone which is called abscisic acid. This abscisic acid inhibits growth, causes whittling of leaves, stress hormone. This hormone inhibits the growth of a plant. Therefore, abscisic acid promotes dormancy in seeds and buds. It promotes closing of stomata, whittling and falling of a leaf, and detachment of a fruit and flower from the plant. Children, here are some detailed explanations of abscisic acid. Abscisic acid ABA is a plant hormone, a type of phytohormone. It is a sesquiterpenoid, a small lipophilic molecule. It is synthesized in response to various stresses including drought, cold, and salt stressors. Children, let us discuss the functions of abscisic acid. Abscisic acid is a plant hormone that plays a critical role in regulating various aspects of plant growth and development, particularly in response to environmental stresses like drought and cold. It's often called the stress hormone because it helps in plant manage stress conditions. Children, let us see the functions of abscisic acid. Drought and water stress response. ABA plays a crucial role in helping plants cope with water scarcity. It signals the plant to close its stomata, tiny pores on the leaves, to prevent water loss through transpiration, which helps conserve water during dry conditions. Seed dormancy and germination. ABA is involved in maintaining seed dormancy, preventing seeds from germinating under unfavorable conditions like dryness or low temperatures. It ensures that seed remain dormant until environmental conditions are suitable for growth, example sufficient water and optimal temperature. It inhibits seed germination by blocking the synthesis of protein needed for the growth. Regulation of leaf senescence. ABA promotes leaf senescence, which is the process of aging the eventual shedding of leaves. This helps the plant conserve energy and resource, especially during periods of stress or in a preparation for winter. Regulation of plant growth. ABA generally inhibits growth. It acts to suppress growth in areas where it would be detrimental under stress conditions. This includes inhibiting shoot and root growth when the plant is stressed, allowing it to prioritize survival over a growth. Stress adaptation. ABA is involved in the plant response to various environmental stresses such as salinity, extreme temperatures, and pathogen attacks. It helps to active specific stresses related genes and other protective mechanisms that helps the plant cope with these conditions. Children, let us see the synthesis and transport of abscisic acid. Synthesis. Abscisic acid is synthesized primarily in the leaves, roots, and seeds. It is produced from carotenoid precursors, which are pigment found in the plant cell. Transport. After it is synthesized, ABA is transported through the plant via both the xylem for upward transport and phloem for downward transport, helping to regulate process throughout the plant. Overall, abscisic acid. Abscisic helps plants cope with water stress by promoting stomatal closure, plays a role in seed dormancy and prevent premature germination, controls plant growth by inhibiting growth process and promoting leaf senescence. ABA plays a role in lateral root elongation and plant disease signaling. Children, let us discuss why it is called stress hormone. ABA is synthesized in response to stress and helps plant cope with unfavorable conditions by promoting dormancy, closing stomata, and inhibiting growth. ABA helps plant conserve water and survive stress. It also known as stress hormones because it increases the tolerance of plants to various types of stresses. Then let us discuss the interaction of this ABA with other hormones. ABA often works in contrast to other plant hormones like gibberellins and cytokinesis. Gibberellins promote growth and seed germination, where ABA inhibits seed germination and promotes dormancy. ABA also counteracts the growth promoting effects of cytokinesis and auxins under stressful conditions. Children, let us see the functions of ABA. Function of abscisic acid help plants manage environmental stress, especially water loss, and regulate process like seed dormancy, leaf census, and growth. Synthesis. ABA is synthesized in response to stress primarily in the roots, leaves, and seeds. Transport. ABA is transported throughout the plant to coordinate response to stress and regulate growth. Children, let us discuss why it is important of control and coordination in plants. Control and coordination are important in plants because they allow them to respond to changes in their environment. Hence, here it is the importance like cell division. Cell division is a crucial role for all living species since it is required for growth, repair, and reproduction. This process aids in the generation of damaged cells. Older cells are used to make new ones. Cell enlargement. The majority of the volume expansion in a plant cell is due to water uptake into an expanding centrally positioned vacuole. The direction of cell expansion is determined by the wall's molecular architecture and may be mostly in one direction or equal distributed in all directions. Cell differentiation. The process through which cells in the root, shoot, apical meristem as well as the cambium grow to perform specific roles is known as cell differentiation. Many structural changes occurs in the plant cell during this phase. Protoplasm is the lost during the secretion of archaeary elements, for example dormancy. Dormancy is the method used by higher plants to withstand adverse conditions by halting growth and development in various organs such as seeds and buds. Dormancy is influenced by both genetic and environmental variables, and the majority of our understanding of how it is regulated comes from seed research. Children, let us see what happens if there is a problem in control and coordination in plants. If there is a problem with control and coordination in plants, they may not be able to respond properly to changes in their environment. This can lead to problems with the plant growth and development. Children, finally we conclude that control and coordination are important for plants because they allow them to respond to the changes in their environment. Hormonal control and coordination use chemical signals to control and coordinate the activities of the plant. Nerves control and coordination use electrical signals to control and coordinate the activities of the plant. Both hormonal and nerves control system are important for plants because they allow them to respond quickly to changes in their environment. The type of control system that a plant uses depends on a type of response that is required.